Time 9:05. Now the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Clouds increasing throughout the day today. We'll see highs near 39. A rain-snow mix develops tonight, lows near 32. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Tara Hastings for 93 WIBC.
It's 25 and mostly cloudy on Monument Circle. I'm Kirk Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by BillEstisTrucks.com.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
93 WIBC. It is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Kev's here, and in place for Casey, the one, the only, the vivacious, the talented, Brad Kloffenstein-Stein. Hello, Brad.
Thank you, Rob. Great to see you.
All right, so we're going to start. Boy, we have a wild and wacky show for you today, but we're going to start with something pretty serious, and that is the condition of the southern border. And I think, Brad, and you will appreciate this, I developed my border policy from a guy that I know you know and admire, and that is Dr. Michael Munger. And he is the chief economist at Duke University,
yes,
leading libertarian across the country, formerly ran for governor of North Carolina as a libertarian. And I heard him say this years ago, and I have always thought this was a great way to describe what we should want as a country. And I think whether you're a Democrat, a Libertarian, or Republican, this is a sensical policy, if you were to say, describe it in a few words, and that is a big wall with a very wide gate.
I've said that often on these airwaves.
And what that means is we want to be a country. We are a country that is built on being accepting. We are a country that is built on diversity. We are a country that is built on people coming here and making us better. And so by those standards, you want to have a very wide gate that people can walk through. But walking through that gate should have meaning, and we have a vested interest as a society in knowing who comes, in knowing who goes, and ensuring that the people who come here, one, are safe, and two, are people who want to assimilate into American society and American norms and want to participate in American culture.
Right. It should be no different than RSVPing for an event that does not have an admission charge, yet you do need to grab a ticket ahead of time.
That is such a great way. By the way, coming up a little later on the show, since I knew Brad was going to be filling in today, I think we're going to do one of the most fun segments we've ever done, which is how much of your life have you spent drinking? Like if you were to say, no, I'm not talking about like, okay, you went out to dinner and you had a beer. I'm saying how much of your life have you spent where drinking was the center point? Either you were going to the bars, or you were going to the frat house, or you were hanging out with your buddies, or drinking was the central thing. If you could get all of that time back, how much of your life would you get back? So we're going to do that a little later in the show. But one of the, I think this should be concerning to every single American, which is that the Biden administration is wholly invested in mass illegal immigration, and they're not even trying to stop it at this point. They're not even putting up the perception that they're trying to stop it.
Rob, here's what I don't understand. What is the end game? What is there to be gained by just letting en masse all these people across the border without having them check in?
Well, you're a smart guy, Brad.
I would like to think so.
Is that a rhetorical question? Because obviously the end game is they believe this will produce a generation of reliably Democrat voters who, if from the day they get in this country, are totally dependent upon government services, and Biden is the president handing said services out, then that will create a whole group of people who will, for 25, 30, 40 years until they figure out what it's like to live under communist regime, will be voting for Democrats.
Is it really just that simple?
Why else?
I guess they do say the simplest answer is the most probable, and I can't.
Isn't that gross?
It is gross. I cannot fathom this. I mean, I was raised to where I'm a small government guy,
yes,
but the government should have few functions, but do them well. Securing the border is one of those 3 or 4 functions that goes along with national defense, making sure people aren't overrunning our borders. And to think that they're just going to abdicate that responsibility in the name of thinking that they're going to acquire some votes over the next generation, That's sick.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I like having you on is you are what I describe as the rational libertarian, which is you are.
It doesn't matter. I could be the rational conservative, the rational liberal. I am the rational person in the room, Rob.
Well, and by that I mean there are so many people in the Libertarian Party who are just totally crazy on borders, and they're open borders, and we should have no idea who's coming and going, and that's just a total non-starter. But you recognize, because you're a common sense person, that the policy should be let's welcome people who want to be productive in America, and let's 100% keep gangs, cartels, terrorists. All these people should be kept out. And the only way to do that is to have a wall, many of us think a physical wall, but at the very least, a virtual and human wall that keeps these people out of the country. And Alejandro Mayorkas, who is the Secretary of Homeland Security, he is the facilitator of this mass illegal immigration, which comes at the directive of the Biden administration. And it is, he was on all sorts of shows yesterday. We're going to play you this interview with Brett Baer. And it is so pathetic. And you and I have talked about this a lot over the years. When you see these politicians who know they're peddling bull crap, and yet they're willing to go on these talk shows, Brad, and they're willing with a straight face to lie to the American people and have it's serial killer level of sociopathy / narcissism that comes out of these people.
It's because they think the general population is dumb and or not paying attention.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Okay, so Mayorkas was on with Brett Baer yesterday, and listen to this, Brad, accepting absolutely no blame for the record number, year over year record number of illegal immigrants flooding into this country.
You don't take as an administration or as the head of this department any blame for what we're seeing on the border currently? You don't think those numbers are extraordinary and that it's like the White House says, just the ebb and flow? These numbers are historic. There's 8 Rose Bowls full of illegal immigrants that came across the border just since October 1st, Mr. Secretary.
Brett, the numbers are historic. The numbers are extraordinarily large. This is something that is not specific to the United States' southern border. This is something that we are seeing throughout the hemisphere and throughout the world. We have increase in authoritarian regimes. We have more extreme weather events that are driving people from their homes. We have poverty, and America is proving to be prosperous.
So think his excuse for why and it's not even close. We're over 3 million, the most recent data, under Trump, and it did vary from year to year, but at one point, 2017, Trump's first year, it was like 310,000 illegal immigrants entering. We're 10 times where we were in 2017, which is, what was that, 7 years ago?
Yeah.
It acted like, because that is... Well, it's because of climate change that they're coming here, but it just got too hot in the South.
I was listening to the Tony Katz interview with Congresswoman Erin Houchin earlier today, and she put it in perspective. She's like, it's 8 million people. That's more than 1 million people more than live in the entire state of Indiana.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? So more from Mayorkas. This interview with Brett Baer says, so one of the arguments right now is how to deal with the southern border, and the Republicans in Congress claim it's a priority. Now, you know, and I know, Brad, the reality is the Republican Party absolutely 100% does not care about securing the southern border. They're just as invested in mass illegal immigration as the Democrats for a different reason. Their big business backers want the mass illegal immigration. But the Republicans are, as they usually do during an election year, putting up some facade that they care about securing the southern border. And one of the things they're doing is offering more money, but the money is tied to, you cannot be just mass releasing illegal immigrants out into the wild, which is what's happening. Isn't that crazy, Brad? You can come into the country illegally, they process you, and then they just release you, not back to your country of origin, but into this country and go, hey, you need to come back in 2 years. Good luck.
Well, when you were gone, we were talking about it. Some of these people are getting, it says that they need to check back in the year 2030.
Can you imagine, Kevin needs adult supervision 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Can you imagine if on this show on January the 5th of 2024, we looked at Kevin and said, Kevin, we are sending you out into the wild, and you are to report back to us on January 5th of 2030 what Kevin's life would be like if there was not us to keep an eye on Kevin.
He will come back with a long, scraggly beard.
Yeah, I'd find my way to the wilderness and live there for a while.
And this is Kevin, who is a law-abiding, upstanding member of society who pays all his taxes. We're talking about this with illegal immigrants, Brad. That's what they're saying. You wouldn't do that with your neighbor or someone you care about, much less someone you have no idea who they are.
Well, Rob, until people realize it doesn't matter whether they're Republicans or Democrats, it's all about power, and they really have no interest in solving this problem.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Brad. So here is Mayorkas on Fox News saying he won't take more money from the Republicans if it means they can't release illegal immigrants into the country.
But when you say that Republicans won't accept the extra funding, they have a problem with the funds being used to release and transport illegal immigrants around the country. So Congress is listening right now. Would you accept the extra funding on the condition that the funds could only be used for detention and removal, but not release into the country?
Brett, the funds are needed to provide the Department of Homeland Security with more Border Patrol agents. The funds are needed to provide the Department of Homeland Security with more technology. The funds are needed to provide our department with more detention space, to provide the Department of Justice with more immigration judges so justice can be administered more swiftly.
You have owned businesses.
I have.
You have run businesses.
I have.
And I'm guessing whether you were the owner of the business or running the business, you were given or came up with objectives of what the business was. Like the goal of having this business, obviously, ultimately is to make money, but here's how we make the money. And there were central tenets to whatever that business was on how you're going to do the things that will make the money. Is that a fair assessment?
That is a fair assessment.
And so you would think that being in charge of Homeland Security, of which the border is an integral part, that you would have a blueprint on how we're going to actually secure the border if indeed your job was to secure the border, which Homeland Security, that seems like that would be a job. Securing the southern border would be part of being director of Homeland Security.
I would think that would be the very first thing. So if you've got a dry erase board, step one, make us secure.
Yeah.
Step two, stop terrorists.
Yeah, and so the idea that he will not releasing illegal immigrants into the country as the top of that list when it comes to securing the southern border, absolutely unbelievable. One more clip here before we go to break. It is believed 70%, Brad, of illegal immigrants are being released. 70% of the people who are coming in this country legally are then being essentially released into the country, and Mayorkas absolutely does not dispute the number.
Would it surprise you to hear that CBP sources say that currently they are releasing more than 70% of the migrants crossing every day, and sometimes more than that number, higher than 70%? Would that surprise you?
It would not surprise me at all. I know the data, and I will tell you that when individuals are released, they are released into immigration enforcement proceedings. They are on alternatives to detention, and we have returned or removed a record number of individuals. We are enforcing the laws that Congress has passed.
So I've never been arrested, but I think if I ever do get arrested, I'm going to ask for, quote, an alternative to detention.
Yes, you should just ask. Yes. Clearly, you're going to release me and have me check back in the year 2030.
Officer, I realize that you've caught me red-handed, but I would like an alternative to detention. All right, Brad's in for Casey today. When we come back, Brad, you're a recently married person.
I am. I have a ring to prove it.
And there is a life conundrum that one woman is facing with her upcoming wedding, and I will be totally curious to get your thoughts on this. I think, and you know I'm loath to side with women on anything, but I think she's got a point on this one. We'll talk about it when we come back. It's Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
I alphabetized my soundboard. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. F?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
I have to go to S for Sopranos. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you got it.
It's so clean now. It's fantastic. Yeah, we have clearly run out of things to talk about. There's nothing else going on in the world.
It's a great world, everything's so.
This show is stupid.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Hoosiers embody the American spirit. Settlers who refuse to settle, and pioneers who aren't near done blazing trails. Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise are joining the working men and women of Indiana to build a state where freedom and growth are promoted and life, liberty, and property are protected. Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise believes in a common sense approach to improving the Hoosier state. Simple yet exceptional ideas like empowering individuals to make their own choices with their hard-earned money and encouraging free enterprise so people can succeed. Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise also knows we can help students achieve by embracing educational choice and help families live fuller lives by making healthcare freedom a reality in Indiana. If you want to join the voices of other Hoosiers who share your common sense ideas for Indiana's future, visit HoosierHope.org. That's HoosierHope.org. Paid for by Hope, Inc.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Emmer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show.
I found that a hit record is like a stew. All the ingredients have to cook together just right. Otherwise, it's just soup.
On 93 WIBC.
Pouring down by the river with a
yes. Now look, I don't want to go on record as saying I'm happy whenever Casey's not here. I am going to say, though, when Casey's gone, the bumper music that Kevin plays gets markedly better.
Does that mean that Kevin is sucking up to the other host more than you?
I mean, the fact that Warren Zevon comes rip-roaring out of the gate on today's show, that's no coincidence,
Yeah.
Kev.
Yeah, I know. It's because it's your day.
Yeah.
And also, I forgot to wish you a happy birthday. I missed it by a couple weeks. So
now, if we can get a Werewolves of London at some break, I might even give a howl.
I love that.
Oh, yeah.
When the old lady's away, the boys will play.
Yep.
That's the slogan today on the Kendall and Casey Show. No, just kidding, Casey. We love you. Brad Kloffenstein in for Casey today. So, a life conundrum here that showed up on the Daily Mail of all places. And I wanted to run this by you, Brad, because you're recently married, and I think this woman has a point, but you're a voice of great reason. I will leave it up to you. So a woman posted on a social media site called Reddit. Are you familiar with Reddit?
I've heard of Reddit.
It's a total hellhole, and all sorts of awful things take place there, but sometimes there's some interesting conversations.
So it's like going to the mall.
Basically, it's like the virtual mall.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, if Lafayette Square were still a thing, yes, it'd be the virtual Lafayette Square. So she is getting married, or is engaged to be married, and her to-be husband has a tattoo of his ex-girlfriend's name on his body, and she is concerned about getting married to this guy as long as he still has another woman's name on his body. I think she's got a point here. Now, I'm not a tattoo person. I have been involved with people who are tattoo people. I've never been involved with someone who had someone else's name that was not a child or a mother or a loved one of some sort, and never had a significant other. But I think I would have a big problem marrying someone who has someone else's name on their body.
I would too, and I'm with you. I'm not a big tattoo person. I typically have not dated people with tattoos. This does remind me back in my beer selling days. There was a girl who worked for us, and she went out
you can't, if you're on the YouTube chat, you can see this. He just popped his knuckles like he did the knuckle pop here as he's about. That means he's very proud of the story he's about. Anytime it starts with, there was a girl, and then you pop the knuckles, you're proud of that story you're about to tell.
Oh, dang straight. So anyhow, so she went out on a kind of a first date with some guy, and they went on a little bit of a bender, and she comes back, and they got tattoos of each other on their bodies. So she got a boob tattoo of his name. And yeah, as you can imagine, the relationship lasted all of about 3 weeks.
And then you're stuck.
The whole time I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy is going to be in the wind. And at first she's like, well, no, I think he's a really great guy. I'm like, there's a lot of really great guys. How many really great guys have you gone out with for a month and then you've moved on to somebody else?
Sure.
And sure enough, I don't want to be the next guy getting in there. I mean,
oh, what a great description, Brad. I'm going to put that in the Radio Hall of Fame somewhere. Yeah, because so like I long wondered this when I was a younger man, because I was my age is when people were getting all sorts of creative tattoos in a variety of different places, and they had a bunch of eccentric names for these tattoos. And I wondered, because I'm 40, people that I was hanging out with are nearing that age at that time. How do they feel about those tattoos? Like, let's say you got one on the lower back, for example, that had a name for it. Everybody knew why that tattoo was there. Do you now, as a woman of 40 years old, let's say you have a couple kids and, I don't know, 2 or 3 ex-husbands, do you now regret that you made that choice, that while it seemed wild and wacky and adventurous in the moment, you're now stuck with that forever?
Rob, there's a lot of things that I've been passionate about and that I have stood for in my lifetime, none of which do I want to commit to having imprinted on my body for the rest of my life, because I at least recognize things change, my body changes, and this, I might not feel the same way, or this, in a lot of instances, this is not going to look the same 30 or 40 years from now. Maybe I'm a commitment phobe. I don't want to commit to that.
Yeah, and we'll get out of here with this, because and we are a life advice show. We serve a lot of different areas on this Kendall and Casey show, but I think the number one thing we are, Brad, is a life advice show. And I will tell you, whether you are 18 years old or 80 years old, any decision made in the moment based on interpersonal relations is probably not going to end well for you many years from now.
I agree.
But a choice that will end well for you is to stick around for the news, because Kurt Darling has that coming up next. It's the Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Don't stress about plumbing repairs. Call L.D. Smith for honest advice and a free second opinion on any estimate.
L.D. Smith Plumbing.
A dirty, stinking honest.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Getting more out in the open. It's mostly cloudy and 28 downtown. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:30. More documents related to Jeffrey Epstein's possible sex trafficking have been unsealed. Lawyer Alan Dershowitz among those listed in the documents, who denies any wrongdoing in his association with Epstein.
I'm thrilled that all these papers have come out. I urged them. I went to court. I asked for everything to come out because I knew that I had done nothing wrong and the papers would exculpate me.
In a deposition transcript released Wednesday from one victim, Epstein is said to have told her that former President Bill Clinton likes them young. A stronger than expected month for the economy in December.
More resilience in the job market. The Labor Department says there were 216,000 new jobs created last month, more than expected. The unemployment rate held steady at 3.7%. The forecast was for 170,000 new jobs, with the unemployment rate slightly higher at 3.8%, though employment in December was even stronger than November, which had been helped by the end of the auto workers and Hollywood strikes.
Fox's Jenny Casola. Your opening bell report on 93 WIBC, brought to you by Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. And off of that jobs report, stocks are virtually unchanged at the opening bell. The Dow is down 6 to 37,426. The S&P 500 is up a point to 4,690. And the NASDAQ is also up a point to 14,508. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
There's always time for the drive-thru deal. Because no matter how fast you are at making breakfast, McDonald's is faster.
The buy one, get one for $1 deal is your answer to a quick and easy morning meal. For a limited time, choose from delicious options like a sausage McMuffin with egg, sausage McGriddles, egg McMuffin, or hash browns. So hurry into McDonald's before it's gone. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Valid for a product of equal or lesser value.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Roofs leak, pipes burst, and toilets overflow. When you're in over your head, Michaelis keeps theirs. A rescue-ready water damage team that responds around the clock. With more than 35 years of experience, they're wet everywhere. Except behind the ears. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
Hi, it's Steve Mann. Have you heard the commercials for the Mark Patrick Stop Smoking seminars? And they said only $49.99 and it could work for you. So I thought, that's not even a week's worth of smoking. So I went. And guess what? It did work for me. You know, my friends and family are still amazed. I quit smoking. I didn't have cravings, anxiety, or weight gain. Listen, I don't know how it works, but I know it works because I'm living proof, and it's 100% guaranteed. So what do you got to lose? I'll tell you what you got to lose. A very bad habit.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking without cravings, irritability, or weight gain. Early bird special, only $49.99 guaranteed. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all, or your money back. Seminars 8 p.m. on Thursday, January 25th at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport, or 2 p.m. on Saturday, January 27th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Registration is 30 minutes before the seminar. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
At Absolute Wealth Management, LLC, we understand that your retirement and taxes are inseparable. And if you're over 50, we're offering a special deal to kickstart your financial journey in 2024. You can have your 2023 tax return prepared and filed, including Schedules A, B, and D, for just $79.95. This can be the start of a lifelong profitable partnership with Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. All our retirement planning clients will continue to receive the substantial discount for tax filing and preparation as part of our ongoing retirement marathon that focuses on protecting everything you've worked so hard to build while still providing growth to help elevate your lifestyle in retirement. Take absolute control of your retirement. Call us now at 317-288-0634, 317-288-0634, or visit AbsoluteWealthManagementLLC.com. Investment advisory services offered through Gradient Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Gradient Advisors, LLC, and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting advice.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Down and trouble
and you need a helping.
Boy, I'll tell you what. I'm not advocating for Casey to never come back, but I'm saying on the bumper music alone, Casey's really going to need to shape up her music taste because it's just a happier day here on this program.
This is not a happy song, man.
It's James Taylor.
Yeah, I thought women love James Taylor.
They do. They do.
That's what I always
Maybe
heard.
not those drunk music that you hung out with.
Music you listen to after you've been dumped.
It's a Kendall and Casey show. 93 WIBC. I'm Rob. Brad's in for Casey. Kev's here. I've had a theory for many, many years on why the show, whatever form it has taken, has done so well.
I think me and lots of others would be curious to hear this theory.
Well, as you know, I mean, many people over the years have just actively cheered for my demise. I mean, I accept that every day when I come in here.
Several of those are in this building.
And that's part of being me, is that, you know, every day when you walk in here, and this was this way when I was an elected person, that there is no gray area with you, whether it was people who support you as an elected person or now listen as an audience. People are either listening because they desperately want you to fail or they desperately want you to succeed. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that every day when I walk in here. I know that is hanging over me. And my job is to produce, not only to make the people who want me to succeed happy, but most of my motivation, Brad, is out of spite to make the people who want me to fail completely miserable.
All of us need motivation from somewhere.
But from a very young age, Brad, spite was my primary motivator. And it is carried with me into adulthood. But the point is, whether you listen because you want me to fail or you listen because you want me to succeed, you are drawn to this because of the personality that comes with the program. And that is our goal. That is why we are here, whether it's Tony, whether it's this show, whether it's Hammer and Nigel. Our job is to keep, for whatever reason, and we all have different styles and different forms and different politics, but our job is to keep as many people listening for as long as we possibly can. And we are seeing this play out now in college football, where over the past several years, college football, in terms of television viewing, has somewhat been on the decline because it has been largely regionalized to the success of college football, and that is the SEC.
Correct.
Whether it's Georgia, whether it's Alabama, whether, you know, LSU has occasionally been in the mix, very rarely, but Auburn occasionally pops in there. It has been an SEC-dominated sport, and if you live in the South, hey, all great, sign me up for all that, all day, every day. But that doesn't attract people in California. It doesn't attract people in Indiana, other than if you're just a big-time college football fan. And now in college football, thanks to Michigan, we have a villain or a polarizing team, a polarizing head coach, where everybody is, much like this show, drawn to watch for one of two things. Either you're Michigan man, like the Barstool guy, Dave Portnoy, and you desperately want Michigan to succeed, or you're the rest of the country and you desperately want that cheater Jim Harbaugh and that university to fail. Either way, it's great for college football, which is my theory on why they haven't thrown the book at Harbaugh yet, because they are getting huge amounts of people to watch it while the rest of college football is not succeeding and continues to somewhat be on the decline as it has been. Anything Michigan this year has been gold for television viewership.
Yeah, I agree. For every superhero, i.e. Purdue basketball, you need a supervillain, i.e. Michigan football or Alabama football. But you're right, because everybody wants their chance to knock off that villain.
Yeah, everybody knows what Harbaugh is. And even, you know, I always love the excuse for Michigan people, and I have several very good friends who are Michigan people, and I always just chuckle at the defense. It's like, dude, those guys are rule breakers. They know what they're doing. You can say the rules are stupid. I'm not even necessarily going to disagree with you, but there's rules here that I think are stupid. I think some of the standards we play by with the FCC are stupid. But you know what? If I break them, I'm out the door.
You mean I can't drop an F-bomb right now?
You cannot, Brad.
Oh, man.
And you know what? We're grown-ass men, Brad, and I think that's kind of stupid because I think the majority of the way society's changed, many of the rules or the things that govern decency are probably highly outdated. But the rules are the rules, and I know the rules each day when I enter the door. Same thing with Michigan. Is the stuff they're going after Harbaugh and Michigan for stupid and outdated? Yes, but the rules are the rules, and they knew the rules, and they're deliberately subverting the rules. Point of all this, though, is Michigan has been great for college football because that Alabama game, which was phenomenal, it was a great football game, even if it were two above-board programs participating in the process. It was just a great football game. It drew 32.8 million people that watched that, which made it the most watched non-NFL sporting event since 2018.
It was a great ball game, and it happened in prime time on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was the first of the two semifinals. It went to overtime. I told you during the break, I was flipping back and forth. I was following the game, but when it got to the end of the fourth quarter, I was watching that game.
It was, and it wasn't one of these things, like a lot of times, and Hammer will tell you this, we bet on things to make us be interested in it. Like, we bet on the Nuggets and Warriors game last night. Well, the only reason we did that is to give ourselves something to cheer for. This was not that. People were watching because they were genuinely captivated by this. And so by that standard, you have to say that whatever the NCAA or the Big Ten wants to say about Michigan and their bending of the rules, they are great for business. Because people are clearly the most watched sporting event other than an NFL, period. Not just college football. We're talking Olympics or NBA Finals or World Series or the Masters. This blew all of that out of the water unless it was an NFL event.
Right. Had this been a Minnesota-Auburn Peach Bowl, it would not have had the viewership nor the interest just because neither one of those raises that villain status.
Right.
And it just... Yeah, this was two teams that one of them I really dislike, the other one I mildly dislike. and yeah, you're like, gosh, I want them both to lose. Can this game go on forever?
And so it is proof. Controversy still sells in society. Controversial people still sell in society. Being able to successfully portray yourself as a villain to the part of the populace and as a hero to another part of the populace sells in society. So I just thought that was super interesting that for all the hand-wringing and gum flapping over Harbaugh this and Michigan that, the NCAA and the Big Ten are loving what Michigan is bringing to the table.
Can you explain one thing to me?
Yes.
So he was suspended for 3 Big Ten games because they were scouting other games. I thought that's what you do. You scout other teams.
So this comes back to, is it stupid for what they're getting hung up in? And what happened was they allegedly had an assistant coach who allegedly was paying people to go to other teams' games and standing opposite their sideline so that they could, in some cases, allegedly either write down or film them in some cases so they would be able to get their signals so they would know what the other team is doing, whether defense or offensive formation that they're going to be in. I agree with you, Brad. This is a rule that was put in place in the mid-'90s when many people barely had camcorders, much less a cell phone at their disposal where they could film everything. And every game was not on national television back then or cable television like it is today. It's a highly outdated rule, but again, there's a lot of highly outdated rules. We are still governed by Orson Welles doing the War of the Worlds, Brad.
Yes, we are.
Radio is still governed by something Orson Welles did, whatever that was, 80-plus years ago. Is that stupid? Yes, but it's what you sign up for when you walk in this studio every single day.
Now, the best trolling that I saw this year was when Purdue played Michigan earlier in the season, and Purdue Pete's on the sideline, and he's wearing an Ohio State cape jacket thing, and he's got a camera focused over on the Michigan sideline. Yeah. I'm like, all right, that's pretty damn good right there.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Brad and I are going to play a game because Brad would be the perfect guy to play this with. And we kind of just got on this conversation off air, and I thought, man, this would be perfect for on air. If you were to take the amount of time you spent drinking in your life, how much time would you end up getting back?
I have presents for this segment, too.
Perfect. By the way, when I came in today, Kev's first words out of his mouth, I always check in with Kev, and he's putting the audio together. Kev's first words were, "Do you think Brad brought us any beer today?"
Yeah, you always come with a little bit of beer.
I sometimes do. This is not one of those times, although I did bring other gifts.
That's probably best for me.
It is the Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, what do the jobs numbers say, and can we trust that that's an indicator for the future? That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
Has the holiday season left you overwhelmed, stressed out, and overweight? Do you feel frustrated when you think about what you need to do to be healthy and feel better? You deserve a simple approach to a stronger, healthier, and more enjoyable life. Exercise Inc. has been helping people in Central Indiana reach their health and fitness goals for 20 years. The approach is simple. Strength train with a certified coach once a week for 20 minutes. Adopt the 9 simple habits you need to follow to change your health and lose weight. Then get out there and enjoy life, because you'll be stronger and have more energy, and you're going to feel better, and you'll lose weight, and you'll probably even look better too. And you may even be able to get off of some of those prescription medications. Exercise Inc., Avon, Brownsburg, Greenwood, Zionsville, and now in Fishers. The studios are private, no mirrors, no music, and no spandex. Just you and a professional coach working to reach your goals for the new year. Go to exerciseinc.com today to sign up for a free consultation.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Basements get a bad rap, probably because so many of them are wet, leaky, and musty. Michaelis is putting an end to the horror show. Their time-tested waterproofing systems eliminate and prevent water issues. Damp and moldy becomes clean and healthy. They have a lot of homeowners enjoying their basements again. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show this Saturday and Sunday at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. This Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com.
Hey, this is Pastor Micah Beckwith.
And I'm Pastor Nathan Peternell.
And we serve at Life Church, and we got a podcast that we wanted to tell you about called Jesus, Sex, and Politics.
Yeah, you know all those things that the culture doesn't want to talk about that will scare you? Yeah, that's our bread and butter. We love it.
We're going to equip you on how to defend conservative constitutional values based in God's Word in this podcast. So tune in to Jesus, Sex, and Politics
wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh, my goodness. Todd Rokita will not stop talking. I mean, it's great for us. It's going to end terribly for him. 93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Brad's in for Casey. Kevin's here. The Todd Rokita is the gift that keeps on giving, Brad.
He is. He is.
It is just unbelievable, his inability to understand the legal world in which he now operates as Attorney General and his unwillingness to just shut up and accept whatever punishment comes his way. And he just keeps making it worse.
Rob, how many times have you thumbed your nose at the Indiana Supreme Court?
0.
I'm 0 also.
And I'm not even an attorney. Okay, so if you're new to the party, I know we've covered this at length, but we'll just reset it for you. So Todd Rokita is Attorney General. He got in big trouble because he went on Fox News and ran his mouth totally inappropriate to have done as chief law enforcement officer for the state of Indiana about an abortion doctor, an abortion she performed on a 10-year-old girl, and he was slapped on the wrist for that. He was essentially reprimanded by the Supreme Court. There is a disciplinary commission that oversees lawyers in Indiana. It's not a criminal court, but it governs lawyers, and they have the ability to punish you to various levels that could up to and include take your law license. Rokita was reprimanded by the court. Supreme Court is the deciding body. There's a commission, disciplinary commission, that makes recommendations to the court, and then the court will decide based on those recommendations.
Think about this. It's a group of attorneys who look at another attorney and say, you're really making us look bad.
Yeah, do you know how bad you have to be to make an attorney look bad? So the Supreme Court at the time, based on Rokita's comments, it was a 3-2 to accept the commission's recommendation of a reprimand.
Right. But
two of the justices wanted to suspend his law license.
Two of them wanted it to be harsher, which is the only reason it was 3-2.
Including the Chief Justice, who kind of controls the whole process. And Rokita's response to that, part of what he had to do is accept responsibility for what he did and basically say, hey, I couldn't defend this in a court of law. I accept that I acted inappropriately. Thank you for not suspending my law license, and, I'll try to do better next time. As soon as the ruling comes down, Rokita goes out and issues a press release, flapping his gums, basically going, I didn't do anything wrong, and the only reason I accepted this settlement was to, save the taxpayers a bunch of time and effort, but I didn't do anything wrong. So now there's lawyers out there going, wait a second, you signed an affidavit saying you did this wrong and you couldn't defend it in a court of law, which is why you're accepting the plea agreement, which is what he accepted.
That's exactly what happened.
And now you're out here saying you didn't do anything wrong. So you're lying in one of these two places. And if you're going by I didn't do anything wrong, then you lied on the affidavit. So more complaints were filed in front of the disciplinary commission. And now Rokita has had to respond to those complaints. And this response, Brad, if you were to look up how to piss off people who control your destiny in the dictionary, there would be example A, Todd Rokita's response to the disciplinary commission.
You want to know who's wasting taxpayer money?
You!
Todd Rokita!
Todd Rokita. And it's amazing. Like, we teach our kids, or you should teach your kids, to own their baggage, to own their actions, to accept responsibility for what you've done, accept the punishment that comes with that, and then learn from those mistakes.
Right. Have a little bit of humility and grace when you've been called to the carpet. Just say, yep, I was wrong, and move on.
So Rokita has been forced to respond to these new allegations from people saying, wait a second, you have apparently signed a false affidavit, which is a huge no-no, because now you're saying you didn't do anything wrong when in the affidavit you said you did do something wrong.
Perjury.
And this response to the disciplinary commission, by the way, Abdul has the whole thing up at indypolitics.org. He accused the disciplinary commission. So these are the people who are going to decide, essentially, because let's face it, the Supreme Court is probably going to have no sympathy for you at this point based on the fact that you burned three of them who gave you the benefit of the doubt the last time. He accused the disciplinary commission of bowing to, quote, political pressure.
Never mind, they're appointed for life.
Says it overcharged and is prejudiced against him and was aiding and abetting his political detractors.
Mind you, these are the only people that can disbar Todd Rokita. This would be like you, Rob, talking about how piss poor management is around here and how they all ought to be fired and they suck and you hate working for them.
Yeah.
And they have no business being in those positions.
Yeah, it is because, again, while it is a court of law, it's not. I mean, the onus really becomes when the disciplinary commission moves forward to the Supreme Court. It is not like a court of law where there's a prosecutor and a defense. I mean, there is, but the Supreme Court takes a lot of weight into what this disciplinary commission says and does because it's attorneys watching over fellow attorneys. So these attorneys are setting the standard for themselves. It's like prosecutors on prosecutors. It's not prosecutors and defendants. It's like attorneys on attorneys. And you are insulting the people who are going to make the recommendation that it is very likely, who just gave you the benefit of the doubt, by the way, against the advice of two of the Supreme Court justices. and you are just throwing salt right in these people's eyes. I hope they take his law license, Brad. I hope they don't suspend him. I hope they revoke it, because then he can't be attorney general anymore. This guy is the last. I don't care about his politics, and I actually like a lot of his politics. I don't even care about his politics at this point. This guy is a goof. He's a loser. He has no business being the chief law enforcement officer of the state of Indiana, because everything is politics with him. He sees politics before anything else, and he is supposed to be seeing politics less, and he can't own his mistakes.
That, there used to be an article called The Bottom 20 that would always rank the bottom 20 college football teams every week. We need to start our bottom 3 rankings of the bottom 3 statewide elected officials. We can include our Congress people as well.
Yes.
And we just need to have a power ranking.
I mean, my goodness. All he would have had to do when he got lucky and they gave him the reprimand, instead of suspending his law license, which is what 2 of the justices wanted to do the last time, is simply come out and say, I let my emotions get the better of me. I'm incredibly passionate about defending life. With my gusto to defend the unborn, I went on Fox News and said some things I shouldn't have. I respect the ruling from the court. I accept this reprimand, and I will certainly do better the next time while still defending life in every single way possible. I just made that up off the top of my head, Brad.
He's a married man. Has he not learned the lesson that sometimes you don't agree with it, but you just shut your mouth and you move on?
Oh, my gosh. So Epstein's brother is talking, and he sat down with Tucker Carlson, and this is fascinating. We'll play some of the audio. Coming up next, Brad's in for Casey. It's Kendall Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Have you saved enough? Do you have a plan for Social Security and taxes in retirement? Hey, Casey Weed of Howard Bailey Financial, where our mission is to help you gain clarity and purpose and elevate meaning in your life through personal and practical financial strategies. That's why we want to give you our Retire with Purpose Toolkit at no cost. In it, you'll find valuable information on minimizing taxes, maximizing Social Security, and building a retirement income you can't outlive. Plus, you'll receive a copy of my book, Job Optional. To get your complimentary toolkit, call or text the keyword INFO 42 to 866-482-9559. That's INFO 42 to 866-482-9559.
Howard Bailey Financial is the official wealth management partner of Notre Dame Athletics. Notre Dame Athletics was compensated for this endorsement and is not a current client of Howard Bailey. For more information, please visit howardbailey.com/ND disclosure. Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
Hi, it's Steve Mann. Have you heard the commercials for the Mark Patrick Stop Smoking seminars? And they said only $49.99 and it could work for you. So I thought, that's not even a week's worth of smoking. So I went. And guess what? It did work for me. My friends and family are still amazed. I quit smoking. I didn't have cravings, anxiety, or weight gain. Listen, I don't know how it works, but I know it works because I'm living proof, and it's 100% guaranteed. So what do you got to lose? I'll tell you what you got to lose. A very bad habit.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking without cravings, irritability, or weight gain. Early bird special, only $49.99 guaranteed. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all or your money back. Seminars 8 p.m. on Thursday, January 25th at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport, or 2 p.m. on Saturday, January 27th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Registration is 30 minutes before the seminar. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
There's always time for the drive-thru deal. Because no matter how fast you are at making breakfast, McDonald's is faster.
The buy one, get one for $1 deal is your answer to a quick and easy morning meal. For a limited time, choose from delicious options like a sausage McMuffin with egg, sausage McGriddles, egg McMuffin, or hash browns. So hurry into McDonald's before it's gone. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal. Valid for product of equal or lesser value.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
As most Americans suffer financially, gold just hit an all-time high. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and this is why you need a physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. To learn more, text the word SHELTER to 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs. Secure your IRA or your 401k right now. Text SHELTER to 989898 to request your free info kit right now.
Coming up in 2 minutes, what and where you can expect some winter weather soon. Plus, a man shot overnight in the mayor's plan to tackle violent crime this year. That and more coming up from the Technology Recycler Studios on 93 WIBC HD1 Indianapolis.
More hiring than expected. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's how last year ended, with 216,000 jobs created, and December's unemployment rate held steady at 3.7%, not rising as economists predicted.
The Federal Reserve has been attempting to engineer a cooler economy and job market without a recession, in other words, a soft landing, though employment in December was even stronger than November, which had been helped by the end of the auto workers and Hollywood strikes.
Fox's Jenny Casola. Not much reaction on Wall Street. We're seeing some gains. The Dow and the NASDAQ both on the rise. The president will not be focused on a resilient economy as he holds his first 2024 campaign rally in Pennsylvania today. Instead,
President Biden will warn of extremist voices in the Republican Party that helped fuel the riot at the U.S. Capitol 3 years ago.
I want to be very, very clear. The threat that Donald Trump posed in 2020 to American democracy has grown even more dangerous than it was when President Biden ran last time.
Biden-Harris principal deputy campaign manager Quentin Fulks says the president intends to run for re-election as if democracy depends on it.
That's Fox's Jared Halpern. Now, former President Trump will be rallying in Iowa 10 days before the first 2024 contest. He remains the front runner in the polls by far. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, also in Iowa, tells the Fox News Rundown podcast he doesn't believe the polls, and it's all about getting voters to caucus for him.
We've got massive numbers of people that are committed. We're adding more every day. And then we turn them out.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken will soon arrive in Turkey for talks, one of several stops as he travels to the Middle East, as Israel keeps waging war against Hamas in Gaza. State Department spokesman Matt Miller says,
"It is in no one's interest, not Israel's, not the region's, not the world's, for this conflict to spread beyond Gaza."
Yet the U.S. remains a target. Again, we've been hit, or at least targeted by, an armed drone in Iraq, according to an Iraq statement today. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
A clearer timeline. It's mostly cloudy and 28 downtown. Radar's clear for now. I'm Kirk Darling for Window Nation. Here's what's trending at 10:02. This evening will be the first of a full weekend of winter weather.
Certainly some heavy snow possible north and west of Indianapolis, especially as you get up towards Chicago. But things can change that far out, so we're keeping a close eye on that.
Sam Lashley with the National Weather Service talking about a system that'll be moving in by early next week. He says tonight you'll see some rain and maybe a dusting of snow. A man killed in a shooting on the northeast side overnight.
It's very early investigation. They're going to speak with witnesses, try to identify any forensic evidence, any video, to get a better idea of what took place.
Lieutenant Shane Foley with IMPD, who says a woman was detained but has since been released in that shooting. The call was about an apartment near Allisonville and 82nd at around 10:15 last night. The mayor of Indianapolis says violent crime has fallen for 2 straight years, and he's excited to continue progress this year.
It's called the Violence Reduction Plan. I'm Donnie Burgess.
Just this past year, IMPD saw yet another record decrease, criminal homicides.
Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett says year 3 will see over $40 million going towards hiring more cops and funding community peace projects.
We can and we will continue to attack this problem through prevention and intervention.
Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Magic mushrooms. That's what federal agents seized from a home in northern Indiana, and a man was arrested this week. Mason Bales was growing psychedelic mushrooms in his home in Elkhart when they busted him with about 35 pounds worth. He now faces 30 years in prison. A clash of top 10s inside Mackey Arena tonight. Number 1 Purdue hosts number 9 Illinois. Head coach Matt Painter says the Fighting Illini are a team with balance.
So if you want to go and stop one guy, you're probably going to stop that guy. Then everybody else is going to have career nights. And so, you got to have a team effort against them because they have a really good team.
Tip off at 8:30 this evening. I'm Kirk Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Winter is here, and if you've already had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your old windows, bundling up in layers of clothes and blankets, and hearing the heat turn on for the 5th time this hour, then it's time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Replacing those old windows with quality, energy-efficient ones from Window Nation is easier and more affordable than you think. Right now through the end of the month, replace the windows in your home and pay no interest for 5 years. That's a great deal, and on top of that, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles.
Window Nation's professional installation means your windows will fit right, so you won't have to worry about leaky, dirty windows and those cold drafts letting out your heat anymore. Don't wait. With 0 interest for 5 years, why not give Window Nation a look? Let Window Nation show you all the options to fit your needs and budget. It's easy. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by BillEstisTrucks.com.
Listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
Oh, yeah, 93 WIBC. It is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Brad Klopfenstein in for Casey. Kev's here. Brad, I don't know if you know this, but Epstein didn't kill himself.
What? When did this come about?
Isn't it amazing the government's ability to just make things the most obvious in the world and then lie to you about it with a straight face?
Well, if he didn't, who killed him? Was it the Clintons?
Yeah, I think there's a variety of suspects. And like I said, I mean, it's just amazing to me how obvious they make it and then go, oh, yeah, he totally killed himself.
Who would have anything to gain by him being dead?
Obviously. And the idea that, like, they left the guy unsupervised and the cameras aren't working. And, I mean, it's highly laughable, but it really is an insight into what our government actually thinks of us and how little respect they have for us and how they believe, hey, all of you people are just a bunch of buffoons, and even if you catch us, you're not going to do anything about it anyway. So obviously the Epstein the Epstein associate list. How about we say that? The Epstein associate list.
No known conspirators?
Yeah, we don't know how many were actually clients, but associate list was out and making news. I'm not sure we learned anything new other than maybe the amount of times people were associating with Epstein, but everybody knew Bill Clinton was an associate with him, and everybody knew it wasn't just peripherally, well, I posed for a picture with this guy because he gave $10,000. I think everybody knew Alan Dershowitz was associated with the guy. Everybody knew Prince Andrew was associated with the guy. There was nobody that we saw on there, nor intricate detail, where you said, wow, that is just earth-shattering news. But his brother, Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, went on Tucker Carlson yesterday. The video dropped yesterday. By the way, Tucker Carlson is more powerful off Fox News than he was on Fox News.
Yes, I would agree.
Isn't that just a total indictment of the kind of the legacy media and how epically they have failed, that a guy can get booted off of your platform and he becomes more powerful just doing his own thing on the internet?
Well, I think that's just the way media is going, Rob. It's, more and more people can produce whatever they want. They can put it out online, and more and more people can find them, and it's easier to do it. So, legacy media it's holding its own, but there's other opportunities for people.
Well, and we talked about this a lot with, like, here in Indianapolis, and actually we did our whole episode of State House Happenings. The podcast is up. We post that on WIBC social media, but also airs Sunday mornings on WIBC. Abdul and Jim Merritt are my co-hosts with that, and we were talking about that specific thing this week about how legacy media, especially as it pertains to Central Indiana, is what we were focusing on. I mean, look, Indy Star's in huge trouble. We're still doing very well, but we're doing very well because we give people things they're not going to hear anywhere else, and that's why they continue to tune into WIBC. But if you look at traditional media in Central Indiana, it's a whole new ballgame in terms of who's covering. You've got independent journalists that are kind of driving the boat now, people like Abdul, Adam Wren. You've got these nonprofits like Indiana Capital Chronicle. Is the future of covering, especially covering in-depth Indiana politics and government, are these independent journalists and nonprofits. But anyway, so Mark Epstein was on with Tucker Carlson and talked about the just total lack of proof that there was any, not just proof that Epstein killed himself, but that there was even an investigation into Epstein's death.
And, you know, when they call it a suicide, they stop investigating. Because if there's a suicide, there's really nothing to investigate.
Right.
If it's a suicide, because somebody killed themselves, case closed. So that's how they can just sort of cover it up. They never did an investigation. They never interviewed the EMTs that were called to the jail. They never interviewed the hospital personnel where his body was shipped. I can't get any answers as to what investigation was done. When I met with the Justice Department people a few months after the death, every question I asked was answered by saying, after a thorough investigation, we determined it was a suicide. It was like them pleading the fifth. I got the same answer to every question I asked.
Isn't it, I mean, are you a coincidence person, Brad? Are you a believer in coincidences?
Sometimes there are coincidences, but
how about like 30 coincidences?
If it becomes a pattern, it's no longer a coincidence.
Well, and that's the thing with the Epstein suicide, air quotes for those of you watching on YouTube, is that you can believe in one coincidence, but you have this guy who you know is public enemy number one. This guy who allegedly, and they get into that actually kind of in depth in this Tucker Carlson interview, tried to kill himself. That's highly refuted, whether he actually tried to kill himself before or not. But regardless, you have a guy who you know is public enemy number one, has dirt on super powerful people, you believe is supposedly a suicide threat, and you just leave him unattended, and then magically the most wanted man in America who has the potential to blow the lid on an entire cabal allegedly of high-profile pedophiles, and there's just one set of cameras, and those just happen to be not working. Oh, my goodness, boy, wow, pretty wild and wacky. And then there's essentially no investigation, as the brother's talking about here, into the guy's death.
Yeah. No, it's that's no different than Dahmer. Dahmer's in a state that does not have capital punishment, and yeah, suddenly some other lifer who's in there who doesn't have anything to lose and probably got favors afterwards offs Dahmer.
Yeah. More from this interview with Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother. He claims the woman who ruled it a suicide will not return his inquiries, and he does not believe that his brother tried to kill himself.
So, did you speak to Barbara Sampson, the official who ruled this a suicide?
No, I haven't been able to get to her.
Oh, she never called you?
No.
So, in her public explanation, she has been asked about this. We tried to reach out to her. She refused to speak to us for reasons we don't understand. But in her official explanation, she suggested that she ruled it a suicide, effectively overruling the judgment of the people who actually performed the autopsy, because your brother had attempted suicide previously.
Yeah, but that's been shown to be false. You can listen to David Schoen, his attorney, on the podcast, the Crime Waves podcast. He explains that Jeff was attacked by his cellmate, but he didn't want to report it as such because he was afraid of retaliation.
But every news account of his initial injuries in the weeks before his death said that he had tried to kill himself in his cell. He was found in fetal position on the floor after a failed suicide attempt, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, you know, once somebody says that, then everyone picks up the same story, and then it becomes, you know, the truth, just because it's been repeated so many times. But the fact is, he did not attempt suicide that first time.
And whether he attempted suicide or someone tried to kill him, I mean, it is relevant. But you know this is a high-risk human being.
Yes.
This is the most high-profile inmate in the entire country who you know has the ability to blow the lid off countless, allegedly, very powerful people. And wouldn't you tell the guards at all points, no one is to ever leave this guy alone. No one is to ever leave this guy unattended. You are to check on him every 5 minutes. You got guys supposedly falling asleep. You got cameras not working. You got the guy left alone. Nobody believes that all those things just happened to magically have happened to this guy.
I would agree, because you're right. You want this guy preserved, because you want the justice system to play out. Now, is now the appropriate time for you and I to say we are not suicidal?
Yeah, that's yes. I have no intention of harming myself. Brad's in for Casey. Let's take a break. When we come back, Brad, I don't know if you know this. You're up on the news. You probably do. There's a governor's primary in Indiana.
What? Is anybody running?
Opening governor's seat. There are 5 people running on the Republican side. And boy, Brad, are these people boring. You would think out of 5 people, one of them would be mildly entertaining, and boy, are these people pathetically boring. So we're going to bring in somebody who's not boring. Our old friend Donald Rainwater, he's going to be the likely Libertarian nominee for governor in 2024. We'll talk about the lack of vision from the Republicans. We'll talk about the lack of bold policy proposals from the Republicans, and why these people are so boring. It's coming up next. Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
I alphabetized my soundboard. Well, I'm sorry, you didn't hear that. F?
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
I have to go to S for Sopranos. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you got it.
It's so clean now. It's fantastic. Yeah, we have clearly run out of things to talk about. There's nothing else going on in the world.
It's a great world. Everything's so.
This show is stupid.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Hi, this is Jiffy Lube owner Steve Sanner. Jiffy Lube is a one-stop shop for all your car's maintenance needs to operate safely and efficiently. At Jiffy Lube, we believe knowledge is power. Our Jiffy Lube teams don't do repair work, but our focus is on becoming your go-to guys for all your manufacturer's recommended maintenance. So while we are still the fastest team in town, cars and trucks need a lot more than oil changes. Tires need to be rotated, wipers, belts, lights, and filters wear out. Brake parts need to be replaced. Why make yourself deal with 2 or 3 different shops just to take proper care of your car? It's way easier to join the million Hoosiers every year who drive into Jiffy Lube and drive out with the peace of mind that their car is safe and working well. We are a one-stop shop for all the maintenance your car will ever need.
The go-to guys for all your car's recommended maintenance needs. Jiffy Lube.
My husband, Bob, has Parkinson's, and he needs more help now, and I need more support to help him. Thanks to Indiana Pathways for Aging, we're getting the support we need to help him right here at home, like with meal prep and basic personal care, and even respite support for me.
Pathways provides Hoosier Medicaid members, age 60 and over, support for care their way, so they can live life their way. The program begins in summer of 2024. Call 87-PATHWAY-4 or visit in.gov/pathways.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. It's our 97th annual New Year's sale. Save 50% off on all Lazy Boy and Smith Brothers of Bern. Save an extra $100 off on every Sealy mattress and Ultra Comfort lift chair, and get up to 4 years interest-free financing on every Tempur-Pedic and Stearns & Foster mattress. New Year's sale ends Saturday, January 20th, only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Hey, you're up next.
My throat hurts so bad. There's no way I can sing tonight.
Here, try these.
Vicks VapoCool Drops.
Yeah, Vicks VapoCool Drops has maximum strength menthol with a rush of Vicks Vapors.
Ooh, I can already feel it.
I told you. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Vaporize sore throat pain fast with Vicks VapoCool Drops.
Get travel tips, exclusive deals, and more during the free AAA Vacation Expo, January 13th at the JW Marriott. You don't even have to be a AAA member to attend. AAA.com/expo.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Who am I supposed to vote for? Am I supposed to vote for the Democrat who's going to blast me in the ass, or the Republican who's blasting my ass?
Politics is just all one big ass blast.
You're gonna get your ass blasted.
Nationwide.
Let's call the bouncer, shuts the door. This magic moment drifts across the floor as Benny King's voice fills the air. Baby, that's the power of prayer.
93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Brad's in for Casey. And boy, I'll tell you what, we've talked about this many times. There are 5 kind of mainstream Republicans running for the governor's nomination this year in the state of Indiana, and they are all pathetically boring thus far. Not one of them with any sort of big and bold idea, and really not one of them giving us much to talk about. But one guy who does give us something to talk about, he'll likely be the 2024 Libertarian nominee for governor, Donald Rainwater. Joins us now on the WIBC hotline. Yeah, Rainwater, I'm disappointed in all five of these people. They're pretty boring thus far. What say you?
Well, I say that we need to talk more about the things that are really concerning the majority of Hoosiers when they sit down and try to pay their bills. And we need to talk about the economy. We need to talk about reducing taxes, not just some of the taxes, but all of the taxes. And, you know, we don't need a shell game where we talk about axing the tax, but we don't talk about reducing property taxes or the gas tax. We need to talk about reducing all the taxes. We need to talk about giving Hoosiers some real relief and trying to turn back. I've got a new phrase for you, Rob.
Oh, how exciting.
We need to roll it back.
Oh, I love it. All of it, the taxes, the government, roll all of it. Can we steamroll it back? Can we steam it? Perfect. I love it. Hey,
roll it back to 2012 if we can.
Okay, so let's talk about, because obviously you're the very likely libertarian. Have you cleared the field? Are you just going to go ahead and declare victory in the Libertarian Convention? Are you prepared?
No, sir. We have some folks that have verbally declared that they are going to also seek the nomination, and of course we welcome anyone who wishes to do that. We believe in the value of competition, and so you know, we're fine with that. But we're out raising money. We're out raising support. We have not just your earned media attention, but we have a lot of earned media attention, and so we believe that we are the best possible option for the Libertarian Party nominee, and we're moving forward as such.
Donald Rainwater, our guest. So let's talk about these five Republicans, because when you've got five, I thought, hey, we got five in the race. They're all kind of from very diverse backgrounds across the political spectrum. I thought, wow, this is going to be pretty interesting. We're going to get some, mud being slung. We're going to get some a vast array of policy proposals. There's nothing bold out of any of these people so far, other than maybe Suzanne Crouch, but nobody believes she actually would make the cuts necessary in spending to get rid of the income tax. It is amazing to me, Rainwater, that not one of them is, well, even if they don't believe it, to come out and go, hey, I'm for getting rid of property taxes or, dramatically reforming property taxes. They all seem petrified to make the establishment angry.
Well, I think that that's a very astute observation on your part, Ron.
Thanks. It's what I do. That's why I'm here.
Absolutely, it is. And the reality is that, that is why I'm able to talk about freezing the state budget, rolling it back, reducing all of the taxes, eliminating things like the excise tax on your vehicle. I can talk about this stuff because I don't have to answer to the big donors, the lobbyists, all of the people who are in the ear of the establishment-seeking candidates. And that's the problem. And that's the thing that's why I run, because somebody has to represent the Hoosier, the individual, the citizen, the person government is supposed to be safeguarding their individual rights.
Well, hey, let me ask you a question.
These other folks that are running are just running to get a hold of a huge, multi-billion-dollar budget that they can then dole out to their friends.
Well, so let me ask you that, because it's interesting. I mean, obviously you've got Braun, who I think internal polling shows is the sizable frontrunner. That makes sense. He's a U.S. senator. He's presented himself as pretty conservative. But if you're
That's right. And he's a political insider.
You're right,
100%. Regardless of what his ads say.
Well, you're right. I mean, we talked about this many times, Don.
Legislature. He was in the Senate. You can't be a political success story like he is and be a political outsider.
Well, yeah, we've talked about this. He voted for the gas tax. He voted for more than the 40 other tax increases in 2017 when he was in the General Assembly. But if you're Curtis Hill, if you're Eric Doden, you have nothing to lose by having really bold ideas. I am just amazed that these people all want to elevate themselves up the political ladder and be governor, and yet none of them are willing to say, hey, let's be really big and let's be really bold. I mean, their policy proposals are as entertaining as dry paint.
Well, and I think if you listen carefully to what they say, they have some very bold proposals, but they're not bold proposals here again that help the individual. I believe Eric Doden is talking about what he's going to do to transform rural Indiana into a more urban Indiana. And I don't know that the people who live in rural Indiana want to be Carmel.
Yeah.
Now, the people who want to be Carmel, I believe locally, they have the ability and they should have the freedom to economically develop as they see fit. But I don't think that the state should be doing it for them and making that decision for them. And I think that both Mr. Chambers and Mr. Doden are looking to economically transform the state of Indiana and continue to pump lots of taxpayer dollars into corporate development. Yeah, and I don't think that's what everybody in Indiana wants or needs.
Yeah, you make a good point. Don Rainwater is our guest. I'm looking for the candidate. If I were running, and of course you are running, so you can take this if you'd like, or not use it at all. I am voting for the candidate this year whose campaign slogan is "I will leave you alone," because you make such a great point. They have so destroyed these donut counties in terms of mass, out of control, irresponsible development, much of it facilitated by economic incentives from the government, both from a residential and commercial standpoint. See this LEAP district, which we'll get to here in a second, that this idea that he's out there, Doden, campaigning on, as you said, we're going to urbanize rural Indiana. I think rural Indiana wants to remain rural Indiana. That's why they're rural to begin with.
I do too, and I'll take this a step further, Rob. I keep hearing about from several of those Republican candidates. I hear about we need to, the way we're going to fix the economy is more jobs. We're going to bring in more corporate jobs. Well, how does that help somebody who's got a job? Maybe I'm too simple, but if I'm struggling economically because you want me to get 2 or 3 jobs?
Yeah.
How about we reduce taxes and we reduce government spending and we reduce, we take actions that free the economy. We have too many regulations. I can tell you right now, it makes no sense to me to continue to raise the individual citizens' property taxes while we continue to invite corporations to come in and get tax year or 10-year tax abatements in order to come to Indiana. What we're doing is we're enticing corporations to come here with other people's money. And OPM is not the way to encourage economic growth. We need to encourage Hoosier small businesses, Hoosier citizens to create more small businesses. You do that by cutting the individual taxes on people, give them more money to invest in doing their own thing, not, hey, we're going to bring in these high-paying corporate jobs and you're going to take one.
Yeah.
That, to me, sounds a little bit tyrannical, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you talk a lot about this on social media. That, I mean, you look at like what's going on with the LEAP district in Boone County, and there's other eminent domain projects that I know you're talking quite a bit about. You were a huge leader and really helped save that farmers market there off 31, where the state was trying to come in and bulldoze that thing over. I think individual property rights, I think individual liberty. I think enabling people to be able to afford to stay in their homes and keep the quality of life and the type of life that they have today, I think that's going to be a huge issue. And I think right now, none of the 5 Republicans have any vision on that whatsoever. And I think that's a real pathway for you in 2024.
Well, and I think the reality is here again, the old parties, whether it's the Republican Party or the Democrat Party, their vision has nothing to do with the individual Hoosier. It has to do with the special interests that fill their campaign coffers so that they can run and get power and get control of that budget and then dole that budget out. That's why one of the things that I'm going to call for is a freeze of the state budget. When I'm elected governor of the state of Indiana, I'm going to go to the General Assembly and say, you've got enough. The bureaucracy in this state has enough. We don't need more money. We don't need a pay raise from the people to spend more money, especially on, our education. We keep hearing about third graders can't read. That's a failure of our education system. But our supermajority keeps pumping more. They've been bragging about making unprecedented investment in education. What they're doing is wasting your tax dollars on bad policy, bad implementation. They're not fixing the problem. They're just throwing money at it.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to take the checkbook away from these people.
And you're just the man to do it, Don. If anybody's going to take the checkbook away, it's going to be you, and maybe that'll be your campaign. Take the checkbook away. Steamroll it all.
Again, roll it back.
There you go. Steamroll it back. Yes, sir. Hey, if people want to learn more about you, how can they do that?
Oh, they can go to rainwaterforindiana.com, and if they'd like to volunteer to help the campaign, they can click on the contact link and fill out their information. If they'd like to help out by donating, they can click that donate button. I don't get millions of dollars from all these special interests like these other candidates do. The only way I get campaign funding is by individual Hoosiers going and clicking on that button.
Donald Rainwater, the 2020 Libertarian nominee for governor, probably back on your ballot again in 2024. 93 WIBC, it's Kendall and Casey Show.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
There's much more to look at. It's 29 and mostly cloudy downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:30. More documents in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case are being released.
In one of the documents, lawyers discuss pictures of Epstein confidant Ghislaine Maxwell at Chelsea Clinton's 2010 wedding. The pictures were used as evidence in the 2015 civil defamation case filed by Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre against Maxwell. Now, Bill Clinton is again mentioned by Giuffre in a separate document.
Fox's Nate Foy. The U.S. will be sending military logistical support to parts of Japan that are impacted by a powerful earthquake. The 7.6 magnitude quake killed at least 92 people on New Year's Day. South African Olympic sprinter Oscar Pistorius has been released from prison after serving 7 years for culpable homicide. He was convicted in 2014 for shooting and killing his girlfriend in his home back in 2013. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Has the holiday season left you overwhelmed, stressed out, and overweight? Do you feel frustrated when you think about what you need to do to be healthy and feel better? You deserve a simple approach to a stronger, healthier, and more enjoyable life. Exercise Inc. has been helping people in Central Indiana reach their health and fitness goals for 20 years. The approach is simple. Strength train with a certified coach once a week for 20 minutes. Adopt the 9 simple habits you need to follow to change your health and lose weight. Then get out there and enjoy life, because you'll be stronger and have more energy, and you're going to feel better, and you'll lose weight, and you'll probably even look better too. And you may even be able to get off of some of those prescription medications. Exercise Inc., Avon, Brownsburg, Greenwood, Zionsville, and now in Fishers. The studios are private, no mirrors, no music, and no spandex. Just you and a professional coach working to reach your goals for the new year. Go to exerciseinc.com SkyReady.com today to sign up for a free consultation.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to SkyRizzy, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With SkyRizzy, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And SkyRizzy is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to SkyRizzy. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to SkyRizzy, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about SkyRizzy, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit SkyRizzy.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZY to learn more.
Basements get a bad rap, probably because so many of them are wet, leaky, and musty. Michaelis is putting an end to the horror show. Their time-tested waterproofing systems eliminate and prevent water issues. Damp and moldy becomes clean and healthy. They have a lot of homeowners enjoying their basements again. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
While high school sports help students develop their athletic skills, the real lessons in this second classroom are the skills needed for life. I'm Brian Lewis.
And I'm Carrie Rosati. We're both assistant commissioners of the IHSAA. In high school sports, student athletes aren't just running drills. They're learning discipline and work ethic.
They're not just watching film. They're learning the value of preparation and always finding ways to improve.
They're not just hitting the weight room. They're learning the importance of pushing through any challenges that come their way.
These aren't just some of the skills student athletes need to navigate the game. These are the skills they need to navigate life, to be successful people, to be good humans.
You can ensure these life lessons are taught for generations to come. Be a champion of high school sports and buy a ticket to your high school's athletic events.
This is preparing for the game. This is preparing for life. This is your IHSAA.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIPC. It's time to hear from you. Kendall and Casey present Voicemails. Brought to you by QC Kinetics for non-surgical regenerative medicine treatments at 317-559-PAIN.
It is the Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Brad is in for Casey. Normally do voicemails at this time. We do have a voicemail, but we're going to save it for Hammer when he comes in to find out how fat he is next segment, because the voicemail is actually directed at Hammer, so we will save that for him. In the meantime, Brad, I wanted to play this game with you today because you and I were chatting before the show, and we were kind of talking about when people first started drinking and when people first started, more importantly, drinking in earnest. And you have consumed a lot of alcohol in your life. I mean,
the way you put it, I've consumed.
I mean, you're not Otis. Like, you're not Otis.
I'm not Otis, but I have had my fair share. I've been a beer salesman. Yeah. I have owned and operated bars. So I own a beer.
Your general life has been centered around, and again, this is going to sound worse than I mean it to be, but your general life has been centered around alcohol.
Yes.
I'm not saying you're
making me thirsty.
Well, I'm not saying you've got like a flask that you're walking down the street. I'm not saying you're pouring, vodka into every diet soda you consume or anything like that. You're clearly, as the, would you like to go ahead and give out the hashtag?
What hashtag? Why I love Lawrence?
Yeah, you're a chamber.
I run the Lawrence Chamber of Commerce.
I mean, you're a very professional person.
Come spend your money in Lawrence. Come out and have some dinner at Cafe Audrey's or lunch at Fitzgerald's or beer at Triton Brewery. I mean, can I go on?
You have many references that have been given to you over the years. However, I mean, again, whether you were, you've owned bars, you've run clubs, you've been a distributor of alcohol. What is this? You gave me you have a new beer out.
So
right?
I've got So in addition to Alpsprow, which is in production, available at fine local retailers, I also own the trademarks to Circle City Beer, which I gave you and Kevin a pin.
We now have. Yep, there it is.
For Circle City Beer. I hope to have it in production by the end of this year. I also own Nickel Plate Beer.
Yeah.
I also hope to have it in production. And then KG Schmidt's First Premium, which is an old Logan Sport brand.
So your life socially has been centered around, alcohol of various shapes.
Yes,
forms,
I've made lots of money.
Fashion, yes, absolutely. So it got me to thinking, like, if you could have all the time you had spent that's centered around alcohol. Now, I'm not talking about, like, if you went out to dinner and you had a beer, but I'm saying either you went to a bar.
If I'm watching a game and I'm having beers, that counts as having beers,
yeah,
right?
that counts
Okay.
because, and I know, and you have a speakeasy at your house.
I do.
People come over and that's where they go, and you stand up there and drink. If alcohol was the center of what you're doing, now, like if you went to a Colts game and had a beer, that doesn't count. The Colts game.
What if you had 4 before the game started, then another 4?
Then you would count that time. the lead up, the pre-gaming would count. So if you took all the time in your life, you have been alcohol was the center of what you were doing. How much of your life do you think you would get back if we took that one lump thing and gave it back to you? How much do you think of your life you would get back?
Now, when you posed this question, I had to revert back to my college-level math courses to do the math on this. Let me preface this. I also spent a number of years bartending in Broad Ripple through the early 2000s, and I know at the time I had a bottle opener, and one day I did the math. I estimate that one bottle opener has opened approximately 50,000 beers over its lifetime. So that is just one number that I set off to the side. But on this, so I figure
Brad actually wrote it down. He's got.
I did. I write it down.
I love you opened up a notebook to make notes.
I told you this is higher math.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess because you are. Do you mind if I give your age? Do you care?
No, go right ahead.
You're 55.
Correct.
I mean, and you're very still well assembled for 55. I'm gonna get. My guess would be if I had to say an over under. In mass, in lump. It's like when they take a pound of fat and show it to you on the video of what it actually looks like. I'm going to say 4 years. 4 years of your life you would have back.
So let me I will tell you how I got to my number. So I estimated roughly 10 hours a week.
Yeah.
It's been less here the last 5, 6, 7 years, but it was
10
more.
hours a week. That's it. I would have had that higher. So
maybe it is higher. So in those years when I was selling beer and I had Broad Ripple, I mean, I'd work all day and then we'd go out and do promos at night, and that's 3, 4, 5 hours.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would
4 days a
count
week.
work, though, because that's work, although it was centered around alcohol.
It was centered around alcohol, and it was on somebody else's tab.
That's true, yeah.
So
were you drinking?
Yeah.
Oh, then then it probably does count. I mean, if you're like when I'm tending bar at the golf course, I'm not drinking.
You're not drinking, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. Okay. All
so,
right.
So I estimated 10 hours a week.
Yeah,
so that's 500 hours a year times 37-ish years.
I love I don't know.
Yes. So that by my math, that is 18,500 hours spent doing that, which is roughly 770 days of 24/7.
So that's two years, 2.5, a little bit over 2 years of your life would have been spent centered around consuming alcohol.
Yes, and that's fun 2 years.
So so here's the follow-up question. If I would extract those memories from you and say, we'll give you the 2 years plus back, or you can keep the memories, what are you taking?
I'm keeping the memories.
Yeah, there
I
you go.
am keeping the memories. Those were some of the best times of my life right there.
All right, Kev, how about you? How much of your life, you're 28, let's just be honest, you started drinking well before 21. I'm not going to give the exact time
I will
guess.
say I had my first hurrah about 12 years ago.
Okay. Yeah, that seems about right. So what do you think? How much? A year of your life? I mean,
I think a year. See, I don't even know what formula to use for this,
Yeah.
but based on Brad's answer, I'm going to say maybe a year.
Yeah. Do
you think that's pretty fair?
Yeah, and that's probably I would say based on my numbers, I'm probably front loaded on that.
Yeah.
So it's been less, like it's later on. But yeah, when I was Kevin's age, that number was more like 15 or 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you, if I could give you 1 year back, like I will hand you 1 year on your life. Your life will be extended, whatever it is. We hope it's many, many years, but your life will be extended by 1 year, and you can have that year back. And the memories that you have consuming the alcohol are erased from your mind. Would you take the memories, or would you take the year of your life?
I'm keeping the memories.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot of valuable lessons during those times, and I've learned from it. And yeah, I would not give that up for anything.
Yeah, boy, we're probably going to get a Marconi or something for this.
We are. So, well, I guess to Kevin's point, I mean, I think you work to have those good times.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, obviously you can take it to an extreme and suddenly they start to become a problem.
Right.
But, you know, Kevin and I are functional members of society, and we know when to say when, and I've never been to jail. I'm hoping Kevin has not, but
I have not, fortunately.
There we go.
Kevin has admitted to several crimes on this radio show, but he has never actually been to jail.
That's amazing.
Well, and the great Michael Stanley once said, all you get to keep are the memories. You got to make the good ones last.
So,
and that's right.
I mean, now, Rob, you had said when we were talking off air, I mean, that you were late to the party, so to speak, when it came to drinking alcohol, but then you realized, oh, all the hot chicks are hanging out at the bars.
Well, everything I've done in my life, and I say this proudly, from about the age of probably 18 on, was centered around convincing good-looking women to engage in interpersonal relationships of some sort.
Yeah.
And it was about 23 before I realized I am missing out on so many opportunities by not being an active and engaged member of the Broad Ripple / downtown drinking society. And so I freely admit my engagement, sometimes to excess, was never about the alcohol itself, but rather about the scenery that came in the environment where the alcohol was served. So I would say I didn't probably actively engage until 23-ish, but I was pretty engaged until early 30s. I would say, but it was mostly Fridays and Saturdays only. So if you said, at least a half a year, maybe a full year, I don't know, because that's 6 hours. That's 6 hours a day, 2 days a week. That's 12 hours, but it's a much shorter time frame than you have, because you're a little more seasoned. So if yours is 2 years,
yours is probably a year.
Yeah,
of your life.
You went pretty hard in your late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, I made up for the lost time.
Yeah. Now, let's be honest. Today is kind of the man show day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here. Think about it. If it wasn't for Chase and Tail, most great accomplishments would have never happened in this world.
It motivates man.
It does motivate man. I mean, all the great structures, Rob wanting to be on the air.
Yeah, exactly.
Think about it. If you weren't on the air, you wouldn't have your wife.
Everything. Yes, that's correct. And I wouldn't have had many things that came in the lead up to I freely admit this, and then this is part of why people listen to our show. We are honest about our lives. Basically, everything that I did in my life, from choosing a career in radio to social habits or whatever, was about chasing after women. I admit that. I'm not ashamed to admit that. And if anybody tells you otherwise, if they're a dude, they're probably lying.
They are lying.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank
the
you.
most miserable people I know don't go out and don't have women in their lives.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll find out how fat Hammer is, plus a voicemail for the Hammer and Nigel show. Brad's in for Casey, 93 WIBC.
Coming up on the Hammer and Nigel show, Breitbart Washington Bureau Chief Matt Boyle sat down with President Trump for 2 hours. We'll get a complete recap. Plus, it's Beer Sample Friday, 3 o'clock, 93 WIBC.
Hi, this is Denny Smith for Zero Res, and how about a great cleaning deal of 23% off all services? It's a great way to say goodbye to 2023 for sure, and get that house back to the Zero Res clean you've come to love. Zero Res can clean your carpets, your tile, your rugs, your upholstery, and basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified. Scheduling couldn't be easier. By phone at 317-388-5141 or online at ZeroResIndy.com, where you can schedule cleaning at your convenience. Nobody but Zero Res has the patented electrolyzed ZR water that cleans with no soap, no harsh chemicals, and no residue to attract more dirt. They can even clean your ductwork to help you breathe easier. Schedule those talented professionals online today at ZeroResIndy.com. Mention WIBC and get 23% off virtually all their cleaning services, even their duct cleaning. Easy to schedule by calling 317-388-5141 or online at ZeroResIndy.com. That's ZeroResIndy.com.
Recently, a new client called me and started by saying, "Mr. Morgan, I really need your help, but I'm just a nobody." Those words stunned me, and I immediately called him back. And we're now helping him and his family after a terrible accident. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Everybody who comes to our firm at their time of need is a somebody. I grew up poor, but my grandmother was like a queen to us. At Morgan & Morgan, our goal is to level the playing field for you and your family at your time of need. The insurance company has unlimited money and resources. You need a firm who can fight them toe-to-toe. For right at 30 years, we have fought them in courtrooms throughout America. Our results speak for themselves. And always remember this, everybody is a somebody, and nobody is a nobody. Visit forthepeople.com to learn about our firm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show this Saturday and Sunday at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. The best dealers in the region will be at the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. This Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Tippecanoe County Fairgrounds in Lafayette. For more info, visit centralindianagunshows.com.
Well, I totally forgot. And he told me several times, and it's 100% on me. Hammer's out today, so we won't find out how fat Hammer is.
Goodbye, Hammer.
I don't know if he has to technically take a timeout on that.
He's dodging the weigh-in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And there's no way he's under whatever that was, 240 point. He last weighed in on the 17th of November. There's no way in 2 months he is under 240.
It's been holidays. He's been on vacation.
Yeah, no way.
Dude.
There's no way. So I feel like he owes me $5 or should have to spend a timeout. But anyway, totally on me. He told me several times, and I just, as usual, like most conversations in my life, wasn't paying attention. It is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Brad's here, and for Casey today, Kevin's here. All right, so we did get a voicemail, though, that I'd planned to play for Hammer. We're going to play it anyway because it's hilarious, about the Hammer and Nigel show. 317-684-8444 if you want to call and be a part of the program. Now, you heard this voicemail on the queue, Brad, and you know this caller.
I know this caller. I'm so excited.
And would you like to...
ladies and gentlemen, if you know the name Crazy Larry... We've got Crazy Larry for you today.
Who is Crazy Larry? Because this guy calls, if it's who I'm thinking of, calls the show all the time, and we usually don't end up playing his voicemails, but he calls all the time, and I think he used to call even way back when the Chicks on the Right were...
Oh, he called the Chicks when Abdul was on WXNT, and when I would fill in for Abdul on XNT, he called all the time. Crazy Larry, if you follow any of the government meetings that happen at the city-county building, he is the African-American guy. He always has on a tattered gray sweatshirt, and he wears a paper bag on his head.
Oh!
He is that guy, and usually he has slave written across him, and he sometimes is in whiteface.
He's in what?
Whiteface.
That is like where you paint your face white if you're not white?
Correct.
I didn't even know that was a...
I didn't know it was a thing either,
but
but
it makes sense.
Yes, but that's this guy.
And you think this is this guy?
I am 99.9% sure this is Crazy Larry.
This guy has been calling the show for years, and now it's nice to finally have a name because usually a lot of times...
In a face.
Yeah, in a face. All right, Kev, let her fly.
Hey, Rob and Casey, y'all got a good show, right? But Hammer and Nigel is funny as hell, man. And I know that they're not two fucking drunks. Hammer's a fat ass, right? A fat ass pear-shaped, but he's no fucking drunk. They're probably both radio nerds, but they're not drunks. But their show is funny as hell.
A gem that Crazy Larry dropped on the show one time when I was in there, he referred to Mazel Tov cocktails.
Oh. Okay, so I guess we should probably address that. One, yes, Hammer is fat and is shaped like a pear.
Yes.
Two, they are radio nerds, and they're number one, and they're very great.
They're very good at being radio nerds.
I don't know if they're not alcoholics. I want to say no for Hammer, but yes for Nigel. I don't know.
I heard the conversation with them last week, and I'm not sure that Nigel was there. It might have been a day that Nigel was out, but Hammer was like, I drink a lot.
Yeah.
But Nigel makes me look like a teetotaler.
Yeah, well, we told you the thing where Nigel had sent us because he had been ill and missed a couple days of work. I think he said he had ended up having COVID, and he said, I haven't drank for 12 days. I think I'm going to just stop drinking. Hammer and I were laughing because as he was texting with us, he was wearing his Fireball hat as he was texting that. And then the next day, sarcastically asked him, hey, how's sobriety? And he said, well, I've had a couple scotches today.
I got to do Beer Sample Friday with him a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I bet that was a
He's
blast.
Never more excited than when I bring beer into the studio.
I think that would be a fascinating. We had this, Hammer and I had this conversation years ago about if we were to pair people up and in a tag team wrestling style March Madness type format, if you were to pair people up like team drinking, who could drink who under the table? Because, I mean, we do have in this building some people who I think really can consume beers. Obviously, you have Hammer and Nigel.
Right.
You have you have Abdul. Now, Abdul's much thinner than he used to be, so I'm not sure if he can
And
drink.
he's observing Dry January.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that anybody who observes Dry January can be eligible for this tournament.
But you have several people who can, I mean, just actively.
Kevin.
Here's the problem with Kevin, though. I thought Kevin would be on this, but you did so poorly at a night with WIBC that.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we had to drive you home.
Yeah, but
That's because half the attendees were buying him drinks.
Well,
yeah, and I pregame before that.
This is the point. If we're going to be at a drinking tournament, we can't have somebody that's going to wilt after a couple of shots.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's not like I blacked out and I puked all over the place. I just couldn't drive home.
That's true.
Which happens when you drink, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't drive when you drink.
My impression is Casey could probably hold her own.
Maybe if there was a women's drinking.
If there was a women's division. But
I mean, who are we going to have, though? It's Terry Stacy against Casey? I mean,
Casey seems like, I mean, she drinks wine now, though.
Oh, yeah, and it'll take her 9 hours to figure out what she wants to drink, so she might win by default. The other people might fold out of boredom.
And I got to admit, I don't know the newsroom real well. I mean, there might be some heavy hitters there.
Yeah, we think Donnie Burgess? What do we think? I don't know.
He might be a beer guy.
I think Donnie Burgess would just enter as my odds-on favorite to win the newsroom drinking.
Now, see,
and I know nothing
John
about
Herrick is a big guy.
He is, but But now he's getting married and he's going to be a stepdad.
Slowing down.
I don't know what sort of shape John Herrick is in, but we may need to bring that back. Like maybe we could do that for charity or some sort of, maybe we stream it. I don't know. Hammer and I had that idea years ago.
I like it.
To have a team drinking competition, and I don't know how we divide it up, but I think we could.
We almost need it like a three-legged race. I mean, you can partner a lower seed with a higher seed.
Yes, I like that. Yeah, absolutely. Because if you put Hammer and Nigel together, they're going to 100% enter as your odds-on favorite. Now, if it was like you and Abdul were a team, maybe Guy Relford and Tony Katz were a team.
Actually, Relford and Katz could be.
Although Katz is kind of wimpy with his drinking. He sips on that bourbon for like an hour. And
I don't know how he does that.
Yeah, he's so sophisticated about it. He wants you to know what an elitist he is when it comes to his drinking.
I'm envisioning in the movie It's a Wonderful Life when Martini is at Martini, or Nick is at Martini, just like, this is a bar for men who want to get drunk and get drunk fast.
Well, that would also be how you would have to lay it out, is what is the how do we judge success? Is it who can drink the longest or who can drink the most? Like, do you have to have a beer done? So, for example, you were doing fine until we did the Thunder beers at night with WIBC, Kev.
That did kind of
and you
set
were
me
never
over.
the same after the.
Kevin was probably mixing. He probably did lots of.
I made a mistake with the mixing the alcohols, and I try not to do that. But yeah, that was silly.
And different drinks affect different people different ways, and you know this very well. As
Right.
years in the
I could
alcohol
do
business.
beer all night long and be just fine.
But if we're going to have, like, if we were having a Long Island iced tea competition, well, I'm your number one seed because I've drank those in mass for years and years and years. However, if it's a beer competition, obviously someone like you is going to have a strong competitive advantage. So I really think we need to kind of lay out some ground rules, but we could probably raise quite a bit of money for some sort of charitable cause if we really put our minds to this, and maybe we invite people to attend, and maybe there's some sort of sign-up fee.
There's a lot of bar owners out there that I bet would be more than happy to host.
Probably be some liability issues too, though.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll bring a designated driver.
We'll run it through upper management. Hey, it's the Kendall and Casey Show. Brad's in for Casey, 93 WIBC.
Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me. For me.
To avoid digital threats, turn on NordVPN. It's trusted by millions of users. Just visit NordVPN.com. One of the fastest VPNs on Earth will block web trackers, malicious websites, and malware-ridden downloads. It will also encrypt your internet traffic while maintaining a smooth connection. So improve your digital privacy and protection against hackers with one simple click. Get the special deal at NordVPN.com and enjoy safer internet daily. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
Tune in Saturdays 9 to 1 for the Home and Garden Show for advice and fun. Brought to you by Michaelis. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
Get travel tips, exclusive deals, and more during the free AAA Vacation Expo, January 13th at the JW Marriott. You don't even have to be a AAA member to attend. AAA.com/expo.
Your one blood donation can help save the lives of up to 3 people. Give blood through the American Red Cross to help hospital patients. Visit redcrossblood.org today.
Coming up in 2 minutes, how confident the experts are when it comes to snow, plus what happened at Sue Finkam's inauguration as mayor of Carmel, and 2 games with 2 big opponents on the hardwood tonight. I'm Kurt Darling. That and more coming up from the Technology Recycler Studios. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken will soon arrive in Turkey. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. One of several stops on another trip to the Middle East with the goal of trying to prevent Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza from broadening. However, the U.S. continues to be a target, and Deputy Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh just told Fox.
Look, we always reserve the right to protect our forces, to protect our people that are stationed, whether it be in the Middle East or all around the world.
And again today, an armed drone was aimed at a U.S. base in Iraq. There have been more than 100 times we've been targeted. This the day after a U.S. strike in Iraq killed a high-level commander in an Iran-backed militia.
And that's why we've urged time and again that Iran call their militias that they fund, support, equip, operate, and train to back down.
President Biden will campaign today in Pennsylvania, the day before we mark 3 years since the Capitol riot. And his new campaign ad underscores what his message will be today.
There's something dangerous happening in America. There's an extremist movement that does not share the basic beliefs in our democracy.
And the backdrop for his speech today, where Fox's Lucas Tomlinson is, dates back to the Revolutionary War.
15 miles away from George Washington's winter encampment at Valley Forge. And recall President Biden going to Philadelphia ahead of the midterm elections when he was flanked by those Marine Corps sentries. Now, Republicans say Biden is running on January 6th in this so-called democracy movement because he can't run on his record.
Former President Trump, by far the Republican frontrunner, will campaign in Iowa 10 days before the first contest. The caucus is there. There was more hiring than expected last month and more than November. 216,000 jobs created, and the unemployment rate held steady at 3.7%. Actor David Soul has died, but he'll always be remembered as Hutch. He was half the famous TV crime-fighting duo on the popular 1970s show Starsky and Hutch, and at the height of that show's fame, he had a hit song. It's written in the Don't Give Up on Us topped the Billboard charts in 1977. David Soul was 80 years old. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
How confident they are. It's 29 and mostly cloudy downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:02. Confidence is growing among experts that snow will be a part of your weekend.
Certainly our confidence grows as we get to about 48 to 60 hours from the time the event's going to begin.
Sam Lashley with the National Weather Service. He says it begins tonight with rain switching to light snow in most places. Then early next week, a second system will move in and even greater chances for winter weather. A man shot and killed on the northeast side overnight. It was at an apartment near Allisonville and 82nd. It's not clear yet what exactly led to the shooting, but a woman had been detained but has since been released. During yesterday's inauguration of Sue Finkam as the next mayor of Carmel, protesters calling for a ceasefire in Gaza interrupted the proceedings and had to be escorted out by police. It was during Senator Todd Young's introduction of Finkam, during which he said,
"Did I mention Carmel has amazing police officers?"
Finkham was sworn in, taking over for former Mayor Jim Brainerd. Former Vice President and Indiana Governor Mike Pence is in Israel, showing his support for the country's efforts against Hamas. Sasha Nixon.
He tweeted Thursday that he wanted to see firsthand the aftermath of the Hamas terrorist attack of October 7th. During his trip, he and others, including CEO Matt Brooks with the Republican Jewish Coalition, have already made multiple stops. Both Pence and Brooks have made it clear that they believe Israel is right in its effort to destroy Hamas. Sasha Nixon, 93, WIBC Mobile News.
The Butler Bulldogs are on a 2-game skid and have to face a tough opponent tonight at home. They host number 4 at UConn inside Hinkle Fieldhouse. Top-ranked Purdue with a big game as well as they face number 9 Illinois. The Dogs tip off at 6:30 Eastern. The Boilers at 8:30 Eastern. I'm Kirk Darling on The Level on the go and on WIBC.com.
Have you saved enough? Do you have a plan for Social Security and taxes in retirement? Hey, Casey Weed of Howard Bailey Financial, where our mission is to help you gain clarity and purpose and elevate meaning in your life through personal and practical financial strategies. That's why we want to give you our Retire with Purpose Toolkit at no cost. In it, you'll find valuable information on minimizing taxes, maximizing Social Security, and building a retirement income you can't outlive. Plus, you'll receive a copy of my book, Job Optional. To get your complimentary toolkit, call or text the keyword INFO 42 to 866-482-9559. That's INFO 42 to 866-482-9559.
Howard Bailey Financial is the official wealth management partner of Notre Dame Athletics. Notre Dame Athletics was compensated for this endorsement and is not a current client of Howard Bailey. For more information, please visit howardbailey.com/ND disclosure. Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by BillEstisTrucks.com.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
And Casey Daniels.
My government would never lie to me, would they?
On 93 WIBC.
It is not looking good for Ron DeSantis, and it seems like Trump has nobody in his way. In 93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Brad Klopfenstein in for Casey today. Kev's here. I remain amazed, Brad. I feel like over the years with our various shows, I've been really good about reading tea leaves at a local level, at a state level, at a national level about what's going to happen and talking about that and making predictions. Not all of them come true, but I feel like we get a lot more wrong than we don't. And I got to admit, I was 100% off on how this Republican primary was going to shape up. Certainly thought Trump would be a front runner of some sort. However, I kind of thought, okay, you've had 8 years of Trump. You've had a lot of lack of success. Take out 2016 with Trump. And people are going to say, hey, we're ready for something different. We're ready to win. Doesn't mean we don't like a lot of the Trump policies, but we're ready to start winning elections again. And Trump has trouble with that. And I thought when you looked at front and center, someone like Ron DeSantis, people were going to say, we can get all the Trump stuff. We can get better than Trump stuff. And it's with somebody who actually not only won in a swing state, but won overwhelmingly in a swing state and lifted other people up in a swing state. Let's go that way. That simply has not happened.
It is not. And yeah, DeSantis has stumbled. And it's kind of like you referenced with the Indiana governor's race. It's because he's boring.
Yeah, he is
really boring.
Do you think it matters, though? Because I just talked to too many people now who this election of Trump is not even about Trump. It's about that they believe 2020 was stolen, and this is not only is it a revenge tour for Trump, in many ways it's a revenge tour for them, and I'm not sure what DeSantis could have done that would have made people not feel that way.
Sadly, I agree with you because, yes, it is a revenge tour, but why? Why? You should not legislate on revenge, and why would you want to be a part of that? I mean, if you're a Trump supporter, you could do so much better.
Yeah, and again, we had this conversation. I've just stopped having the conversation because at this point, if people have not moved off this, they're not going to move off this, and it is going to be Trump. I mean, barring some sort of just totally unforeseen thing that we've never seen before in American politics, Trump is going to boat race everybody in Iowa, and there's, they always say, oh, there's 3 tickets out of Iowa. There will not be. There may not even be 2 tickets out of Iowa. If he wins 50% of the vote and you got DeSantis and Haley at, somewhere between 15 and 20, it's over.
Yeah.
There isn't even going to be a New Hampshire. It won't even matter. And I agree with you, Brad, and Casey and I talked about this ad nauseum, that I do not want Joe Biden to be president of the United States anymore. I do not want 4 more years of a Democrat president destroying this country. Now, everybody knows, listens to this show, I have no love for the Republicans, and I'm not cheerleading for any Republican to be president. I want the right Republican to be president, who I feel like has a track record of getting things done. I think if you compare the records of DeSantis as governor and Trump as president, they're not even close in terms of the accomplishments and success and lifting other people up. But it just doesn't matter to people. And at some point in our business, you got to just accept that and go, hey, what your vision of what should be is not what the Republican Party's vision of what should be, or at least presidential primary voters. And it is what it is.
What I don't understand is Trump is not a conservative.
No,
he is not a conservative. So to say that MAGA Trumpism is conservative politics, those are not the same thing. And Republican politics is not either one of those either.
Right.
And so somehow the Republicans are going to have to figure out how to coalesce and say, all right, this is what we stand for. Because you're right, most Americans don't want another 4 years of Biden. Heck, most Democrats don't want another 4 years of Biden. The field is open, and I'm going to continue to say this until it happens. The first major party to run somebody who is not Trump or Biden will win.
Yeah, and there's a real world where, and Casey had this theory months ago, and the longer we go, the more I think she may be spot on, where the Democrats choose someone else at a convention, where they allow Biden to get through a primary so that some far left radical like Bernie Sanders can't come in and swoop and get the nomination, and then you allow the party insiders. And Republicans better be prepared that it's someone like Michelle Obama running against Donald Trump, and you are not going to like that.
Right, because, Democrats have more of the superdelegates, and, yes, their primaries and caucuses mean less to them selecting their candidate than it does in the Republican Party.
Because you have less time to go on offense against someone like Michelle Obama if they pick her in July.
Right.
I don't know, July or August, whenever the Democrat convention is, versus, obviously there's been 4 years of beating up on Biden with bad policies. So all of this being said, so Miami-Dade County, Florida, hotbed. Ron DeSantis did very well there, better than Republicans have done in a very long time. It was one of the big stories that came out of his reelection. Oh my gosh, this blue county, look at how well he did. They held a straw poll, and they overwhelmingly chose Donald Trump over Ron DeSantis. And we have seen in poll after poll and the straw polls and actual scientific polls, Ron DeSantis loses big in his home state.
Yes.
Even despite all the good he did in Florida, people are like, thanks, we're going with the other guy. And that just blows. Like, I get that Mike Pence was losing to Donald Trump in Indiana because Mike Pence was a crappy governor who was about to get his ass handed to him by John Gregg if Trump hadn't saved him. I get that. But in Florida, you just overwhelmingly reelected this guy and said how great he was. And still those people even are like, nah, we're going with Trump.
This whole Trump thing blows my mind. I thought he was an interesting sideshow in 2016, and the fact that he was on the stage brought viewers in, but he just kept surviving and started winning, and all of a sudden, nobody took him seriously until it was too late.
Yeah, so Ron DeSantis had a town hall with CNN last night, so there were probably 7 people watching it. It was on CNN, so there's a good chance you didn't hear any of it. And, it was just like Trump's town hall at whatever it was, an hour and a half, 2 hours. But he did talk about Trump being a general election candidate and the potential pitfalls and perils that come with Trump as the Republicans' general election candidate. Here's what he had to say.
What I would tell primary voters is whatever may be beneficial in the primary doesn't mean it's beneficial in the general election. And I think a 2024 election where the Democrats get to run against a candidate that is going through all this stuff, that is going to give the Democrats an advantage. Don't have to agree with any of the stuff that was done. That's just the reality. And we end up in a situation where we're putting the future of the Republican Party and the future of the nation, perhaps, in the hands of 12 jurors in heavily Democrat D.C., which is likely to be a very stacked left-wing jury, that if they somehow convict, then the Democrats are going to win the election. Why do we want to even go down that road? Let's focus on your issues. Let's focus on Biden's failures. Let's focus on how we're going to be able to turn this country around. I'll be somebody that's focused on that. But then even more importantly, as president, I'll be disciplined and determined to deliver on all those things. It's not going to be about me. Heck, when I'm not out there doing the job, I've got young kids. My wife and I will be back home. We'll be doing stuff, raising our family. That's going to be the extent of what we're doing. We are going to be laser focused on your issues.
The biggest problem, well, there are many problems. One of the biggest problems with the Republican Party right now is there's no clear vision of what they are, and there is no clear messaging of what they are, and their leader doesn't have an agenda that you can wrap your arms around. And by what I mean is, you have no idea what drill baby drill is not a policy proposal.
No.
I will solve Ukraine and Russia in 24 hours is not a policy proposal. On all of the key stuff, you don't really know, unlike 2015 to 16, where you knew what Trump intended to do, you don't know. And so it's going to make it very hard unless he formulates some sort of concrete 2, 3, 4 bullet point policy proposals like he had in 2015-16 for the Republicans to run in the fall, because you don't know how to run with him. And when you can't run with the top of the ticket, it makes it very hard to win.
Right. Because, yes, the one thing we do know, it will be a series of executive orders on things that Trump cares about, but are not necessarily good for America.
Yeah, and that's a big thing everybody needs to keep in mind, because there's so many of these swing state Senate races that are up, and right now it's 51-49. Let's go ahead and take West Virginia out because Manchin's not running. The governor, Jim Justice, there has got an overwhelming lead in the primary. He's a Republican. Let's just give West Virginia to the Republicans. Now you're 50-50. And there's so many of these swing states that are in play that are currently have Democrat senators. You got one shot, and you're going to have to be able to run in these swing states on a coalesced vision. And winning, and you know this, Brad, winning in the states is different than winning nationally, because Wisconsin is different than North Carolina. North Carolina is different than Georgia, and Georgia is different than Michigan. And you need to have some sort of broad vision for everybody to run on as a team. This is our offense. This is, maybe a couple of the plays we call are a little different, but this is the general offense that we're running. And I don't think the Republicans know right now what sort of offense they're running, which is going to make it very difficult for them.
And they don't, because the party is not bigger than the candidate.
Yeah.
So it's the tail wagging the dog in this instance, where, Trump is setting the agenda. So there's no, and he's not a team player. He does not put a team around him, and he does not put a game plan out there. So nobody else really knows what the plan is, because there is no plan.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, there's a video that is circulating. It is turned out that it is a parody video. However, the fact that so many people believe this video is real is a total indictment of the public education system and a total indictment of our society in which we live. We'll play the audio when we come back. It's Kendall and Casey Show. Brad's in for Casey, 93 WIBC.
2024.
2024.
A consequential year.
Let's get to the facts.
Will likely re-elect a current.
Go out and vote.
Or former president.
How important elections are.
A new governor. A new senator. With a balance of power in the House and Senate.
33 seats are up for grabs.
And it all starts in Iowa January 15. As it plays out.
What's happening?
You'll hear it all here.
People need to stay informed.
On your 2024 election information station, 93 WIBC.
To avoid digital threats, turn on NordVPN. It's trusted by millions of users. Just visit NordVPN.com. One of the fastest VPNs on Earth will block web trackers, malicious websites, and malware-ridden downloads. It will also encrypt your internet traffic while maintaining a smooth connection. So improve your digital privacy and protection against hackers with one simple click. Get the special deal at NordVPN.com and enjoy safer internet daily. NordVPN. Cybersecurity built for every day.
At Absolute Wealth Management, LLC, we understand that your retirement and taxes are inseparable. And if you're over 50, we're offering a special deal to kickstart your financial journey in 2024. You can have your 2023 tax return prepared and filed, including Schedules A, B, and D, for just $79.95. This can be the start of a lifelong profitable partnership with Absolute Wealth Management, LLC. All our retirement planning clients will continue to receive the substantial discount for tax filing and preparation as part of our ongoing ongoing retirement marathon that focuses on protecting everything you've worked so hard to build while still providing growth to help elevate your lifestyle in retirement. Take absolute control of your retirement. Call us now at 317-288-0634, 317-288-0634, or visit AbsoluteWealthManagementLLC.com. Investment advisory services offered through Gradient Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Gradient Advisors, LLC, and its advisors do not render tax, legal, or accounting advice.
The Boston Celtics are coming, not once, but twice this week.
Halliburton goes inside. His pass leads to a Mora dunk.
Pacer fans, get ramped up.
McConnell, another steal ahead to Turner, right to the goal with a right-hand slam.
That's right. The Pacers collide with the Celtics twice this week. Cheer on the blue and gold both Saturday and Monday. Both games tip off at 7. Tickets are going fast. Get your tickets at Pacers.com/tickets. That's Pacers.com/tickets.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Mr. Bellin, will you take the ceremonial shovel?
Thank you.
And dig into the symbolic dirt.
I hereby dedicate this building to myself.
You asked for this, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, my goodness.
Brad Klopfenstein request right
actually
here.
Kind of surprises me because this is like a Jamaican song.
Yeah.
You're into the Jamaican scene.
I like upbeat music. I will put it that way. And Jamaican songs typically are rather upbeat, even though they're talking about fighting a man.
Brad's whole life is upbeat.
Yeah.
That's why we like Brad.
Thank you.
The
That
fill-in
makes
guy.
sense.
Yeah, it is the Kendall and Casey Show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Brad's in for Casey. Kev's here. All right, so this video went viral, I don't know, a couple days ago maybe, and maybe it was even yesterday that it kind of blew up. And I'm watching this video and I'm saying, okay, generally I can tell when something's a parody and when someone's legitimately crazy. It's like artificial intelligence. I still have the ability, maybe because I don't know if you know this, Brad, I have 20/10 vision.
I've heard that before. You've mentioned that.
I have 20/10 vision.
Is that like 20/10 hindsight?
It's like so good that you can read the bottom thing on the test, which most people can't do. So I'm pretty good at spotting things that other people don't see. And part of it is I can look at, just like with artificial intelligence, I can tell still when something's real or something's not, although it's getting harder and harder. I can look at a lot of these videos and tell whether someone, just kind of little things in their face, the way they move, whether they're parody or it's legitimate. But this video went viral of this woman lamenting that her kid was not allowed to act like a cat or identify as a cat in the public school. And people were sharing it and losing their mind. And then it took a little while, but finally it came out, as I had predicted, that this was a woman who was doing a parody. But I'm going to play you this video. And when you hear this video, keep in mind, it came out. It is a parody, is somebody spoofing on society. But we are at a point now where the public education system and parents have gotten so ridiculous that it is now, just like artificial intelligence, almost impossible, unless you have 20/10 vision like me, to delineate what is real and what is not. And many, many people believe that this video was real.
My son identifies as a cat, and his school is not taking that seriously, and I am honestly planning on suing them. So yesterday was the first day of school, and during class, he was licking his paws, and his teacher told him to stop, and he didn't. So she called me, and she was like, hey, you have to get your son to stop doing this during class. It's really distracting to the other kids. And I was like, I'm not going to tell my son that he can't express himself. I have raised my son to be who he is. And I just think that it's really sad that these schools are trying to indoctrinate children and, putting them in this mold to make them think that they need to act like a human, whatever that means. He's not a human. He's a cat. Anyway, I am planning on suing them because they don't accommodate for him. And I just want to know if there's any other parents out there that are having this issue, because we can put together a class action.
The onus is not on the people who shared this, who thought it was real, because it is happening, and there are people out there who are like this, and there are public education systems who facilitate this sort of behavior and allow this sort of thing to happen.
Rob, had you presented this to me as I was at the Brownsburg School Board meeting and I recorded this, I would have said, yep, not surprised.
Yeah. I mean, it is totally an indictment of our society and the public education system that this sort of ridiculousness is allowed to go on. But ultimately, it lies with the parents. And it comes back to whether it is ridiculous stuff like this or it is parents who believe that their 12 or 13-year-old is capable of chopping off their penis and deciding they want to go from a man to, or a boy in this case, to a girl. It all starts, and all of the problems with society really start in the home front. Yes. It is our responsibility as parents to raise our kids and teach them right and wrong and teach them what they are. And we have so many parents, I think, that it comes down to they want to be their kid's friend or be liked by their kid more so than do the hard work that comes with actual parenting.
Yes. So my experience has been in education, the parents that are first ones to stand up saying the school's picking on my kid and my kid is brilliant and they don't understand, they're the ones that have the worst kids. Your kids are the bullies. Your kids are the ones causing all the problems.
Yeah. Yeah, you're 100% correct. All right, so I did want to play this other piece of audio. So Joe Rogan, obviously very popular podcast, millions of downloads every single week. He has been a leader in going after people who not just promoted the vaccine, but rather the people who shamed others who wouldn't get the vaccine. Reasonable people can disagree on all sorts of things. But, Brad, in 2020, we saw with unsettled science, which has now been proven incorrect, you could get COVID if you had the vaccine. You can spread COVID if you had the vaccine.
You could get COVID if you wore a mask.
You could, with the mask, you could spread and get it. You could die from COVID if you wore a mask. You could die from COVID if you got the vaccine. And all of these things, we were told, you are the person who's killing others if you choose not to believe this or question this. And now there's a plethora of people who have all sorts of unexplained health ramifications who got the COVID shots. Now, there are many people who got the COVID shot and they're fine. But the fact is people were bullied and pressured into doing something in many cases they didn't want to do, either fear of losing their job or not being able to go out into society. And now they're having all sorts of long-term ramifications. And the people who bullied or shamed those people into doing those things are just trying to skate out of this with no responsibility whatsoever. So Joe Rogan on his podcast was talking about this, and I thought he made a lot of really good points.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I'm sad about, but is also kind of hilarious, is how many people were promoters of the vaccine and then died suddenly. It's crazy how many young people just died in their sleep after they took it. And everybody's like, nothing to see here.
Sudden adult death syndrome.
Yeah. Just died suddenly. You ever go to the Died Suddenly Instagram page? Like, holy there's so many. And so many people like talking about people who are, anti-Darwin, anti-vaxxers, and then you're dead. Sorry. You bought into the wrong bullshit. But that's, if you really want to get cruel, that's Darwinism. Do you not know they lie by now? Are you not aware of the opioid crisis? You're not aware of Vioxx? You're not aware of the various, to 25% of all FDA-approved drugs that get pulled? It's 1 out of 4. And you're like, what are you, an anti-vaxxer? What are you, a conspiracy theorist? You fool. Darwin's going to do its work with you. You're modifying your genes, you idiot. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You just going to trust Pfizer? Well, they do support Anderson Cooper, brought to you by Pfizer. And you're like, oh, this must be legit.
I'm just going to clip this and show this to people from this point on.
Yeah, clip it. I mean, it's very eye-opening.
He's right. The vaccine companies are a business. They exist to make money. They're no different than this radio show, which is owned by a corporation who exists to make money. We entertain, we educate, but we're a business. Almost everything you consume is a business. And the idea, because it falls in the medical field, that you think that these companies are not existing to make money are not on this earth to make money. There are many good people in the medical field. There's absolutely no doubt that there's many fine doctors and nurses and people who care deeply. But these pharmaceutical companies, they're not running a soup kitchen. They are not actually going to know you. They actually don't really care about you. There are some vaccines that are great and have been very helpful, like polio, but that was determined over years and years and years and years.
They
Brad.
live in a world where they talk about acceptable losses.
Exactly. And you think about it, even like take the polio shot. There's people my parents' age who have giant scars on their arms because that was what happened initially when you got the polio shot. And over time, it got perfected and it got bettered and it got made more convenient. And now people get a polio shot and you don't even know they ever got it. Yeah. No. But that was over decades of time, Brad.
Now, our friend Jim Merritt is writing a book, and I'm looking forward to this book coming out where he is looking at how we reacted to the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 compared to the Spanish flu of 100 years previously. And he is going to compare and contrast reactions, what worked, what didn't work. I'm looking forward to reading his conclusions on this.
Yeah, it's just amazing the just public shaming that people needlessly went through in 2020 and 2021 and how the people who went through that were proven correct, that COVID vaccine didn't stop anybody from getting COVID. It didn't prevent anybody from spreading COVID. The mask didn't stop it. The business closures didn't stop it. The virus did what viruses always do. It ran its course. There are variants of it. The majority of people who got COVID are completely fine long term, but there's many, many people who got that COVID vaccine who are not fine long term. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Nancy Pelosi, she is being wild and wacky, and boy, did she make a lot of money off being in Congress last year. It's Kendall and Casey Show. Brad's in for Casey, 93 WIBC.
Has the holiday season left you overwhelmed, stressed out, and overweight? Do you feel frustrated when you think about what you need to do to be healthy and feel better? You deserve a simple approach to a stronger, healthier, and more enjoyable life. Exercise Inc. has been helping people in Central Indiana reach their health and fitness goals for 20 years. The approach is simple. Strength train with a certified coach once a week for 20 minutes. Adopt the 9 simple habits you need to follow to change your health and lose weight. Then get out there and enjoy life because you'll be stronger and have more energy and you're going to feel better and you'll lose weight and you'll probably even look better too. And you may even be able to get off of some of those prescription medications. Exercise Inc., Avon, Brownsburg, Greenwood, Zionsville, and now in Fishers. The studios are private, no mirrors, no music, and no spandex. Just you and a professional coach working to reach your goals for the new year. Go to exerciseinc.com today to sign up for a free consultation.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
What the numbers mean. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:30. More jobs were created than expected last month, according to the latest jobs report.
President Joe Biden says that these numbers show that this was a good year for working Americans, although he says that he knows that prices are too high and he wants to get those back down. But this report will give the Federal Reserve some pause this year. 216,000 jobs. The last time we created that was September of last year.
Fox's Ed Lawrence. The numbers also say that wages have increased slightly year over year. America's top diplomat is heading back to the Middle East as the Israel-Hamas war continues. Matt Miller with the State Department says Secretary of State Antony Blinken will push to expand humanitarian aid to Gaza when he meets with leaders in the region this week. He hopes to secure the release of more hostages held by Hamas. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Hey guys, it's Friday, and that means Sunday is right around the corner. And this Sunday, if you're looking for a new church home or even a first church home to start off 2024, can't recommend enough my fabulous friends at Life Church. Life Church has been so great to me, to my family over the past couple of years, and they would so love the opportunity this Sunday to meet and welcome you and your family. They make it super easy for you. Campuses all across Central Indiana, Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, Pendleton, and incredible online services. You can learn more about it all, lifechurchin.com.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works, period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars. Early bird special, only $49.99 guaranteed. No irritability, no cravings, because don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. In addition, use hypnosis to lose all the weight and destroy unwanted cravings. Seminars are Thursday, January 25th at the Holiday Inn, Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar, 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar, 8 p.m. Or Saturday, January 27th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar, 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar, 2 p.m. Registration is 30 minutes before the event. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Hannah complained of a headache. It was a rhabdomyosarcoma. Within a few days, Hannah was in treatment because we were told that the tumor was very aggressive. And it very quickly became clear that St. Jude was the ultimate place to be. So we've essentially put our lives in South Africa on hold. Incredibly blessed to be here. St. Jude is an asset to the world. The research that is developed here is offered freely to the rest of the medical world. The entire way that the place operates is just to give and to care. I think it's the kind of place that not only stands as a beacon for pediatric cancer, but I think it could teach the world a couple of lessons about how to treat people. And I think if those lessons could be learned, even in their most basic form, this world could be a better place.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIPC.
On a night move.
Yeah.
Trying to make some front page driving news.
It's Kendall Casey Show, 93 WIBC. Brad's in for Casey today. Kev's here. Brad, are you in the market?
In the market or on the market?
Stock market.
I am in the market, yes.
Is that what they say, in the market?
So, yeah, I have a little public account that has a little bit of stuff in it. So, in fact, you mentioned that a couple weeks ago, Indiana or maybe the federal government announced that they were allotting like $1 billion to cap old oil wells and secure those. So I immediately went online and I'm like, all right, who caps oil wells? I found some company and I'm like, okay, let's throw $50 their way and see what happens. So
you do the stock market like I do sports betting. It's like a very small amount.
Yes. I'm a small-time player.
You're getting your fun out of just seeing whether you won or lost. The amount of money is not relevant to you.
And I invest in companies I are near and dear to my heart. So I own Keurig Dr. Pepper and Molson Coors.
Yeah, right. So like with me, I he advertises on our show, but we use him. I give my money to Bill Demery and say, hey, make it work, brother, because I would be way too nervous if I did what you do. I'd just be watching it all the time, and that wouldn't be any fun. And that's one thing about our show. We use the sponsors. We talked about last year, had an issue with the garage door opener. Garage Doors of Indianapolis came out, fixed it, got a new one in there, and our family was super, super happy with that. They do great work. So whether it's Bill Demery or Garage Doors of Indianapolis or whatever, we use our sponsors. So I ask you this, though, because I'm going to guess so overall last year, it was a decent year for the mega corporations, and our government does a good job of protecting them. The overall gain of the S&P 500 was 24%.
So good. That's better than I did.
That's pretty decent. That's not too bad. And it comes and it goes, and obviously people took a big hit during COVID, and so it's about when you get in and what you do and who you get in with. That's why I have a trained professional, but 24% is pretty good. It's not 65%.
No.
And 65%, it sounds a little ridiculous, right? Like if somebody came up to you and said, Brad, how would you like to make 65% on your money? No questions asked.
I'd be like, I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
Exactly. You would think something might be afoot if someone's guaranteeing you a 65% return on your investment. Well, Brad, 65% just happens to be the number that Nancy Pelosi got on her investments last year. So basically 3 times what the rest of the market did.
So to do that, she must be following the market like 10 hours a day.
I think it's called legalized insider trading, Brad. I think those are the words you're
all
looking
the
for.
time. All these people go in dirt poor, and suddenly they come out enriched. And I know their salary is what, $250,000, $300,000 a year, but it is not millions of dollars a year. And why is it their stock portfolio goes up a heck of a lot more than mine does or yours does?
Right. Well, and remember under Pelosi, there were Democrats who had put forward an act that would have prevented this sort of insider trading that her and others do, and she wouldn't let it get to a vote, even though she had, I believe, previously promised people, as part of her retaining the speakership, that she would let it get to a vote. And this is why people fight like hell. You look at a job that you see people all the time that spend millions of dollars of their own money to run for these offices, and this is why. Because the amount of money you can make, because you can exempt yourself, in this case Congress exempts themselves from the rules that everybody else has to play by. If you or I did these things, we'd go to federal prison, but the Congress exempts themselves so they can get a 65% return on their investments each year.
Yeah. So, Ian, what's not even discussed here is, if you look, almost every elected official in Congress, they have a spouse that is getting paid to be on a board or some other corporation, probably multiple boards, and it happens all the time.
Yeah. And you think, obviously they're going after Hunter Biden because of the Biden impeachment stuff, and what he did was horrific. But many of these other Congress people are doing same stuff. Many of these other people in the government are doing the same stuff. Hunter Biden's just a big visible fish because of his dad being the president. This stuff is happening all over the place. This is why these people spend exorbitant amounts of their own personal wealth to get jobs that pay a fraction of what they're willing to spend or what they're going to be making, because they can make it back in terms of this insider trading stuff.
Yeah. Have you seen the difference between Pence's old house down in Bartholomew County and the mansion he has now up in Zionsville?
How does a career government worker end up being a millionaire? How does that happen?
Surely he amassed all that wealth when he was sitting in the chair that you're sitting in right now.
Absolutely, Brad. You know what radio pays, no doubt. Hey, so speaking of Pelosi, she was on one of these shows. I forget what it was. It doesn't even matter. And she was, I guess if you're getting it, you can rig the system to get a 63% or 65% return on your investment. You don't understand what's actually going on in the economy and for everyone else. And here she is telling you how great the economy is under Joe Biden.
And we have to make sure people know. We have to respect them. We have to listen to them. We have to build community, continue to build community with them. I'm very excited about the credentials, the legitimacy, the leverage that Joe Biden has given to America's working families. And that's the message. And campaigns are campaigns. That's a war term.
Yeah.
You have to go out there and fight. And we have to make sure.
I have no idea what she actually meant.
She's not sure she knew what she actually meant.
Yeah, and I'm not going to imply that anybody had been doing anything before they went out and did the interview, but this is the sort of talking points, and Casey and I got into this the other day, which is fascinating to me for the Democrats. Normally in an election year, if things aren't going well, you will see some sort of triangulation away from the messaging, okay, and let's find something new. But the Democrats appear set to go into 2024 and campaign on the economy's actually fine, you're stupid, you don't know just how good it is, and we're going to just convince you that what you're experiencing in your life is not real. That's a very bold strategy, Brad.
I'm smart enough to know that mortgage rates are still hovering around 6%, and they used to be at 2 and 3.
Yeah. More from Pelosi. And again, the ability to look the American people in the eye and just straight out lie to them, it just absolutely, it blows my mind. And this woman does it better than almost anybody else. Here's more Nancy Pelosi.
Do you think it's a good idea for states to remove Donald Trump from their ballots?
That's up to the states. What I think is a good idea for us to make sure people know what is at risk in the election. I won't go into the courts and the law and all of that. Different states have different laws. We have a different law in California relating to that. But what's important is what matters to the American people and their families at that kitchen table. And you have to keep bringing it back to that because that's what is important to our country. But what happened on January 6th is related to that.
So now she's a big states' rights person, Brad. Did you hear that? Right?
I did hear that, even though she's been all about the federal government for her entire career.
I mean, she's up in arms over the Roe versus Wade being overturned, which left that to the states, which meant her sicko, weirdo, Marxist communists that run California can make California an abortion factory, and Indiana can be a pro-life state that values the unborn. Apparently, she's just very selective of when the states' rights apply. As long as it's kicking Donald Trump off the ballot, well, each state can make that up for themselves.
It's interesting. So I brought you a publication that I get sent to my house on a monthly basis. It's called Ballot Access News. And in Ballot Access News, they talk about who is on the ballot in what states, and it's exactly like it sounds.
Here it is. I'm holding it up for people on the YouTube chat. If you just search Kendall and Casey, you can see it. I love this because this looks like the sort of newsletter that people used to get like in the 1980s. You'd sign up and be on a newsletter list. It is printed. It's very nice, but it looks like the sort of type and font of something that is, volume 39. So that means it has been around since the 1980s. Yes, it has been around
almost 40 years.
And it's called Ballot Access News. So somebody in the 1980s was doing snail mail Ballot Access News.
Yes, and it's $12 a year to receive Ballot Access News. I don't know how they make any money on this because there's no advertising in it. But it was talking about states' rights and whether states could take people off ballots, and there's an article in there that says that it used to be, it's like 1700s, 1800s, that like Indiana and Massachusetts were the first two states to actually print ballots.
Yeah.
That people just walk in and write down a name on the ballot, and it didn't matter, that there were several instances where somebody who was not eligible to run for office won, but then the states, before they sent their electors to vote in the Electoral College, would just say, yeah, that person's not eligible. We gotta go to number 2. But they would let anybody be on the ballot for any reason, and it wasn't until after the vote they would say, ineligible, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, that's interesting, Brad, because what we're not talking about here in terms of, hey, Indiana has this stupid signature requirement to get on the ballot, and I totally disagree with that, but right now it's the law. Okay, cool. You're Trump, you're DeSantis, you're Nikki Haley. If you're going to be on the ballot in Indiana, you got to pay somebody to get the signatures. We're talking about, and different states have different requirements with that, whatever. We're talking about, in one case, it's a court of Democrat-appointed judges. In another case, in Maine, it's just a single individual that just goes, yeah, you engaged in insurrection, you're out. Nobody's been even charged with it. Nobody's been charged, much less Trump, and certainly no one's been convicted of insurrection. But yeah,
wasn't there a court case in Colorado that vaguely said, yeah, Trump engaged in insurrection, and that's what they're basing all of this on?
Sure, but Donald Trump has not been convicted of anything related to January 6th inside the people who have jurisdiction over what took place on January 6th. He hasn't been charged with that. No one has been charged. Not a single person, not Viking Guy, not anybody has been charged with insurrection.
Can we get Viking Guy on the show?
Boy, I wonder where, I think Viking Guy probably is. Is he in some sort of incarcerated
I think
unit?
he was incarcerated for something else.
The point on all of this is they're just making it up as they go along, and they're so blind with the rage that they feed Trump. They feed the narrative. They accomplish the exact opposite of what they desire to accomplish, because normal people look at this and go, wait a second, I may not like Trump, but maybe there's something to this whole idea of rigged election, or the idea that they're weaponizing the courts or elected officials against him to keep him off the ballot. And that's not right. And you're turning this guy, who it's very hard, the two hardest people in the world to turn into sympathetic figures are me and Trump. And it's like you're turning Donald Trump into a sympathetic figure who is so blatantly getting screwed that people go, well, I don't necessarily like him, but I'm not going to allow this to stand, so I'm going to vote for him. He's not going to win Colorado. Maine's a split thing. He's going to get one of the two in Maine. That's always the way it goes. One's red, one's blue. He ain't going to win Colorado anyway. So all you're doing is nationally helping him in places that it ain't going to affect what you're doing anyway.
Yep. So few people understand how the federal election works for president that it's not the popular vote. It is the Electoral College, and it's by state.
All right, Brad's in for Casey. When we come back, we wrap up the week as we always do. We're back to regular programming. It's Mind Your Manners. Our former Miss Indiana, Susan Beckwith, will join us. It's gym etiquette for your New Year's resolution.
I can't wait.
How to succeed and be a decent human being at the gym when we come back. It's Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Coming up on Tony Katz today, what do the jobs numbers say, and can we trust that that's an indicator for the future? That's after the news at noon on 93 WIBC.
Hoosiers embody the American spirit. Settlers who refuse to settle, and pioneers who aren't near done blazing trails.
for mankind.
Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise are joining the working men and women of Indiana to build a state where freedom and growth are promoted and life, liberty, and property are protected. Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise believes in a common sense approach to improving the Hoosier state. Simple yet exceptional ideas like empowering individuals to make their own choices with their hard-earned money and encouraging free enterprise so people can succeed. Hoosiers for Opportunity, Prosperity, and Enterprise also knows we can help students achieve by embracing educational choice and help families live fuller lives by making healthcare freedom a reality in Indiana. If you want to join the voices of other Hoosiers who share your common sense ideas for Indiana's future, visit HoosierHope.org. That's HoosierHope.org. Paid for by Hope Inc.
Michaelis presents Password. The word is basement.
Musty. Shoes. Damp.
The hair.
Subterranean.
Tunnel.
Smelly.
Burps.
Sheesh. Try basement.
Oh, well, burps smell too. Basement waterproofing and French drains. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it.
Call today. Make it Michaelis. Michaelis.
Come on, take your basement back. 844-FIX-INDY.
Looks like I'm losing my mind.
Oh, yeah, we're back in the swing of things. 93 WIBC, it is the Kendall and Casey show. I'm Rob. Casey's out today. Brad in for Casey. And we're back. We're back to regular programming, and that means every Friday we wrap up the work week, sending you into the weekend with the skills and knowledge you need to be a better member of society. And to do that, we head to our former Miss Indiana, our very own Susan Beckwith. It's the Mind Your Manners segment. Susan, all right. So today, I think we're doing a very timely and important etiquette lesson for our audience. It is gym etiquette because so many in our audience have New Year's resolutions they have no intention of keeping. What say you?
Yes, absolutely. And I actually applaud those. You know, I'm one that even if it motivates you to get there, even for just a few months, I think that's great. And but yes, I have experienced the onslaught of additional people in the month of January.
My wife has started working out from home because she simply said it is not worth the hassle of having to deal with the people at the gym. They'll all be gone by February. And I said that may not actually be a bad strategy.
Well, there is a lot of great resources out there. We actually got a Peloton last year, but I tell Mike it's the most expensive paperweight that we've ever purchased.
Now, before we get to the gym etiquette, I talked with Micah earlier this week about this. Do you think my family is very poor, that we are indigent? What's the deal? Because you're literally giving me all of your family's stuff, everything from sweaters to Christmas trees and all points in between. And while we thank you for that, I just want to make sure you know we're actually doing okay.
Absolutely, I know that. But I do have to set the record straight. I was listening and thinking, oh, my goodness. Totally not representing the situation. So honestly, I purchased one, and it wasn't really what I wanted. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to have to store it. And I remembered you were sharing that, you know, you had some lights that were out, that Gabrielle wanted a new one.
Yes.
And I thought, perfect. This is a solution. And then, like so many other people, we start the year and you kind of want like a fresh start,
yeah.
Like cleaning out closets. I told Micah he cannot have any more sweatshirts, so he had to go through and pick out at least 5 that we were going to be getting rid of, and so he threw some sweaters in the mix. And there was an awesome sweater that looked brand new, and I was like, this could go to a new home, and I thought of you. It wasn't like I was going through his closet like, this would be great for Rob. So I'm glad. I am so glad to be able to actually set the record straight.
Yeah, well, you know, I keep things forever. I have shirts that I am convinced I wore in college, maybe even in high school. So this sweatshirt you're about to give me, I will have it until probably my 60th birthday. So thank you in advance, because I get all the use out of the clothes.
I love that. Well, that's good. I have a few things that I feel like are probably vintage at this point, but that I love and plan to hang on to for still a very long time.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about gym etiquette. Obviously, a lot of people going back to the gym. We were kidding about people not keeping the New Year's resolutions. We hope you do, and a commitment to physical fitness is great. But all right, right out of the gate, Susan, number one, when people go to the gym, what is the number one rule for the road?
Oh, there's so many, but I get to start with all the ones that really bother me. So don't monopolize the equipment. So you want to be very mindful of the fact that there are other people there, especially this time of year because it is more full. You need to have a plan in place. You don't want to dawdle. So just really be mindful that others are also there and want to use the equipment.
Yeah, this is why I don't go to a gym and I work out at my house because I take forever. A lot of it is because I start watching television in the middle, so there'll be like a 15-minute unplanned break. And so this is why I don't go to the gym, because I know I would be making somebody angry because I am so slow with my workouts.
Yes. Yep. So that's good that you figured out that really workouts from home are probably best for you and for everybody else.
And you know this, Susan, I come off as an inconsiderate jerk on the air, but in my personal life, I think I'm actually a pretty decent human being.
Oh, absolutely. I just have to, give a real shout out here to say when my sister passed, you and your wife both were so sweet to reach out to me several times, and that meant so much. So, yes, you are truly a good guy, and don't believe the persona that you hear on the airwaves.
When that happened, we actually said, hey, we'll watch your kids, whatever, and Susan was like, no, it's okay. We got that covered. You can ruin your kid. You're not touching ours.
Oh, my goodness. I can't wait to see Libby. I miss her. I haven't seen her while at church. We've been missing each other. So
she's a giant. Yeah, she is now a giant. You'll see her Sunday when we come get the Christmas tree that you've so kindly bestowed upon us. All right, gym etiquette, number 2, rule for the road, number 2. What is it?
Okay, so this one I've had experience with. There's nothing creepier than when somebody is like standing too close, especially when you're trying to exercise. It's just like you really be aware of personal space.
Uh-huh.
So, give like a wide berth. And also, when somebody is trying, I've been new to the weightlifting, trying to do a little bit more of that. If you're trying to look at form and you're looking in the mirror for that purpose, don't cross in front of someone. So those are other, a couple other things to keep in mind.
Yeah. Now, you, of course, as we always introduce you, you are a former Miss Indiana, which means you're, a well-assembled individual. Do you get the creepy men at the gym who are too close to you?
I have had that in the past, so I have had experience in those, but I'm going to be very honest. I'm kind of getting back into, exercise. It's not something I actually love. And so, but I'm trying to be better and force myself because I ultimately feel better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
Of honesty.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. That's number 1. Number 2, Susan Beck with our guests. It's Mind Your Manners, gym etiquette to start the year here in 2024. Number 3, the third most important rule for the road.
Ugh, keep it clean. Nobody wants to see, your sweaty butt print on a weight bench. So, be sure that after you're done using equipment, especially if you are just pouring sweat, that you're mindful to wipe it down and keep it clean for others.
All right, so our top 3 rules for the road before we give you an opportunity to get a 4th one and get out of here in case people are just coming in. Number 1 is be mindful of the time you spend on the equipment. Don't hog the equipment. Number 2, don't be a creeper and be too close to people who are working out. And number 3, be sure to clean the equipment down. Susan, as you send us out here on gym etiquette, what is the 4th most important thing people should remember?
Well, another good one is to be sure to put it back where you found it, especially with the weights, so that way it's there when somebody else needs to use it and they don't have to go hunting for it.
Yeah, see, that's another reason I work out at my house, because my wife yells at me all the time that I don't put my weights back where I found them. And my excuse is I pay the mortgage around here. I can do what I want. I don't think that would go well in the gym.
Yeah, no. I love it. I am curious, do you have a New Year's resolution or no?
My New Year's resolution is always the same. Don't get fired from WIBC. And thus, 7 years in a row, I have exceeded all expectations on my New Year's resolution.
Yes, and just signed a new contract, so you're doing great.
I did, yes. It's just a wild and wacky world we live in here. But hey, speaking of wild and wacky worlds, you have a fabulous website and Facebook page, Belle of the Midwest. Tell us about it.
Yes, check it out. Actually, I'll be sharing a blog post specifically about 7 etiquette tips for hitting the gym. So there will be a few more that we didn't have time to cover today, so be sure to check it out. Also, some links to some of my favorite exercise clothes. So Belle of the Midwest, you can check that out. Also, if you aren't already, be sure to follow me on Instagram as well as Facebook at Belle of the Midwest.
Belle of the Midwest, BELLE of the Midwest.com. Find it on Facebook as well and Instagram. Susan Beckwith, you're the best. Thank you.
Yes, have a great weekend.
Yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Brad for filling in for Casey. Hope everybody has a great, safe, and happy weekend. We'll be back here Monday at 9 until noon. Stick around. Tony Katz coming up next. Kendall and Casey Show, 93 WIBC.
Hey, you're up next.
My throat hurts so bad. There's no way I can sing tonight.
Here, try these.
Vicks VapoCool Drops.
Yeah, Vicks VapoCool Drops has maximum strength menthol with a rush of Vicks Vapors.
Ooh, I can already feel it.
I told you. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Vaporize sore throat pain fast with Vicks VapoCool Drops.
The financial advisor industry is a flawed system. Find out how to fight back and protect your retirement on Expedition Retirement. Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
Get travel tips, exclusive deals, and more during the free AAA Vacation Expo, January 13th at the JW Marriott. You don't even have to be a AAA member to attend. AAA.com/expo.
It takes everyone in the community working together to create a brighter future. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Visit liveunited.org to learn how you can help.
My grades were bad.
I appeared to be doing good at my school life, but if you would see me at home, it would have been a completely different story.
I mean, it was just rough focusing on school when your mother is somebody you have to take care of.
There are students who need somebody.
Communities in Schools is helping more than 1.3 million kids get whatever they need to succeed in school. You can help change the picture of education at communitiesinschools.org.
I hear people say we can't save every kid, but I think that we can.
When was the last time you practiced your home fire escape plan? Be sure everyone in your family knows what to do if there's a fire. Get out, stay out. It's your fire safe response.
On the level, on the go. 93 WIBC Indianapolis.
Coming up.
This is definitely the first in a series of systems.
Cross the river, go through the barbed wire.
This strategy is saving lives.
This is the WIBC News at noon.
A time to bundle up